Hello, and welcome to the Horror of It All movie podcast. I'm Eric,
And I'm Adam.
and this week we are not going to be talking about a specific movie. It's a bit of a list week because for two different reasons. Well, it's the end of a year. It's the end of 2019, so there were some good movies and stuff that we'll dive into, some favorites, and also probably we're going to dive into favorite movies of the past decade because it is coming to the end of another decade. But I don't know about you, but maybe it's different for you. But when I was growing up, it felt like the end of a decade. You know what I mean? Like the end of the 2000s, or like when I was younger, the end of like the millennium, like to 2000. But this doesn't seem like a normal decade to me. I don't know.
No, it definitely doesn't feel like it. Well, and we had like the whole Y2K, and I think that was added on.
But I don't know. At this point, as I get older, it's more or less like years as opposed to like that decade was awesome. Like the 80s were awesome or the 70s were awesome. Not that we either one of us were in the 70s, but movie wise and some music and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was my initial thought, and then once I got into it, I was like, holy shit, there really was quite a bit in the past 10 years. I mean, however, I will say this, and I think you're maybe a little bit less because you do like a lot of more modern remakes or whatever. I do too, but my favorite year is the 80s and the 70s, of course. And I know that's cliche, but come on, those are really the best decades for movies, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about that, and then I'm gonna run through a list that I was going to try to keep it minimal, but because I'm also such a music fan, I came up with my favorite albums of the past 10 years. And another thing I wanted to point out, that this time we're at least I think we were at agreement to that. If you came up with an order, that's cool, but I didn't come up with an order for any of this stuff. It's just going to kind of be on the fly, and I just wrote down a bunch of favorites, and I'll just mention them, and we'll briefly talk about certain ones.
Yeah, all I did was I brought them up on my computer, put them in order for the year, so that's the only list I have.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I also did. There'll be a total of what's that? Maybe four separate segments, I guess, because the first thing I want to talk about is my favorite releases, not just movies, but releases, because we've talked about it on previous ones about like releases from Arrow or Scream Factory or Vinegar Syndrome. My favorite releases of 2019. So that's probably the first thing that I'll talk about, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure I'll probably say some that you're like, hey, yeah, I got to check that out, or what's that? And if at all, whenever I'm saying this in this entire podcast, because I'm going to try to get through it because I wrote down a lot. If at any point, just interrupt me if you're like interested, or like, oh, what's that? Or even just to say, yeah, that one was awesome, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, okay, the first thing I'll be talking about is my favorite releases. My two absolute top favorite releases would be one, my favorite box set of this year. That was released recently by Scream Factory. They did an awesome job. They released the Fly box set, and it has the three old movies, like the old black and white movies, and it also has the remake and the sequel to the remake from the 80s. That was really cool. I kind of held off, and I'm glad I did, because I never bought the Fly on Blu-ray, the remake, because we briefly talked about remakes, and that was one that I mentioned that I think is far surpasses the original as a remake. But I don't know if you've ever seen The Fly, but it's pretty disturbing. It's pretty gross. It's David Cronenberg, so I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's definitely, as they call, body horror. So, but it was really cool to see The Fly on the remake of The Fly finally in HD, because I held off so long. I just had a regular old DVD, and oh man, it's like night and day how good it looks.
Nice.
The disgustingness is disgusting, and the violence is more, just everything.
Oh man, I haven't seen it still. I've seen bits and pieces. I know like the famous clips of him transforming, but I haven't actually sat and watched the whole thing.
definitely. That's one I definitely recommend. Our never-ending list of movies that we'll talk about in the future. But if you're interested in that, we'll definitely put that on after a bunch of our ones that we really really want to get to.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay, and my other top release is from Blue Underground. It is a Lucio Fulci release. That another one I held off on getting on Blu-ray because Blue Underground had previously released the Blu-ray, but it kind of had pretty much what I had on DVD. And if I'm gonna double dip, as they say, I want a good enough reason other than just that it's in HD. Sometimes I will if it's like one of your favorite movies and you're just like I don't care. But that one I held off on. I'm glad I did because man, they killed it on that one. There's so many special features, and it's one of Lucio Fulci's like more gruesome ones. I mean, as I've talked about it, his movies are pretty gory and gruesome, but this one's gory, but it's also it's like sleaze to the max, and like there's stuff in it that oh my god, how'd you get away with that and stuff like that. Like there's like one of the most infamous scenes in New York Ripper is there's a razor blade scene where it slowly goes down a woman's body and like cuts through her nipple and stuff. It's pretty crazy.
Oh.
But it's Italian. We're gonna get there. You can do it.
I'm excited, but at the same time, like, I can feel the pain.
Sure. For little things like that, it's crazy because like somebody could explode and you'd be like, oh wow, that's crazy. But if something simple, because you've cut yourself before, so it's like something simple that you just can feel it just going slow, But
yeah,
you're not a woman, so the killer hated women, so you should be okay. All right, those were my main releases. I'm just gonna, as I said before, just do a rundown of a list of a few of my favorite companies. I don't think I'll go too in depth in them unless you hear one you're like, oh, what's that? And I'll give you a little synopsis or whatever.
Okay.
The first company, as I've talked about on I think every one of our podcasts so far, Vinegar Syndrome.
Have you?
My favorite. I think I have. We'll have to double check, but I think so. My favorite releases from them this year, and that was pretty hard because I'm like I'm a diehard Vinegar Syndrome guy, but these are the ones that I narrowed it down to like painstakingly. Pledge Night, Amityville Curse box set, Mountaintop Motel Massacre. That's a mouthful. Hellmaster, which kind of calling back to our Black Christmas podcast when I talked about we were talking about John Saxon.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Hellmaster. I think that's one of them that I mentioned on that podcast as well. Spookies was one of their newer releases. I don't know if I've seen it, but I know it's definitely a high one that a lot of people were excited about being released. So I'm excited for. I was excited to get that. A movie called Berserker, which is I can't really describe it, so I'll just leave it alone. And the last two are one of the titles kind of speaks for itself, but there was a movie in the 90s with what's her name? I know Paul Walker was in it, and it's not. It initially was like a. They tried to cut it down to PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
Cut out all the violence, but it was supposed to be like an uber violent movie, and of course somebody like Vinegar Syndrome, they put back all the violence. So
nice.
It's called Tammy and the T-Rex. Denise Richards was the one I was talking about that was in it. But yeah, it's pretty gnarly. It's anybody who's a Vinegar Syndrome fan, that I would be surprised that didn't pick it up on this last one. I even did a pre Black Friday like pre-order that they did. That would be included with your Black Friday. Yeah, I'm in deep. I'm in deep with Vinegar Syndrome. And then the last one for Vinegar Syndrome was a movie called Uninvited. I have seen it a few times now, but it was a complete blind buy, which I have mentioned before, but that a lot of their releases are. But it's cool because it's like growing up in the video store, so to speak. But I've gone into that a bit already. But I do want to mention a bit about the ridiculousness of Uninvited. I've even watched it a third time with Ed because we like to watch ridiculous movies that are just over the top ridiculous and not just violence. Just oh my god, this is so stupid. But this movie is about it's a horror movie it's pretty terrible, but in like a very fun way. It's about a cat. It's about a killer cat actually, but the cat looks normal most of the time, and when a kill happens, this fucking weird ass fucking bigger cat, it like comes out of the regular cat's mouth, and that's the cat that does the killing. It's ridiculous. It's funny too because when I was younger, I took my movies so much more serious than I do when I'm older, and I'm glad that I kind of let that go because I'm missing out on so many movies. They're just the classic so bad they're so good. So I don't know how keen you are on so bad so good, or if you've got that far with movies, but if you ever get there, or if you have, it's fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of it. It can be stupid and still a good time.
Exactly. Be it acting, be it effects, be it story, whatever. It's just
something stands out. I'm good.
Just ridiculousness, and that is a big part of what Vinegar Syndrome is. But I won't go to them again because there's more and more people that watch. Is this just the Vinegar Syndrome podcast? And then I'll be like, ooh. That's an idea.
I mean, once we get sponsored by them, it's gonna be.
That's right. It's gonna happen.
Sooner or later, they're just gonna do it.
I keep blahing about them. But anyway, I digress. I will move on to my next company. My next company is another company that I'm pretty into, but nothing to the. I don't geek out about them or anything like Vinegar Syndrome. Is a company called Severin. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but
no.
They put out a lot of obscure stuff, a lot of Italian stuff. My favorite releases from them this year, The Boys Next Door. It has Charlie Sheen in it, and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head, but I have it right in front of me. I'm probably going to say it wrong, but Maxwell Caulfield, I think is his name. It's basically about two like best friends and they're outcasts, and the guy that the Maxwell, his character, he's definitely a bit of a psycho, and he kind of takes Charlie Sheen's character on for the ride, and they have quite a night or two. I can't remember how long in the movie it is, but and they just go on a killing spree, but it's really good. All right, I said I wasn't going to go into detail. Here we go. Some of these titles will say for themselves. Killer Crocodile. It was Killer Crocodile 1 and 2 box set from Severin. That was amazingly ridiculous. It's Italian. It's an Italian crocodile movie that is pretty violent, so I'll just leave it at that. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Night Killer, again, another super obscure Italian movie that I was super excited to get. Blood Vengeance, another Italian that was really I was excited to get. Death Warmed Up, that was actually an Australian title. That was a fun one. It kind of reminded me almost like in the vein of oh man, what was it called? Again, I hate when I do this. I know I say it every time. I can't remember, but if I think of it, I'll mention, like, I'll call back to it. Like, that's what I was thinking of. But it's in that style. Just this title alone. The Beast in Heat. It was one of those video nasties that I briefly talked about. That they made the lists in the UK about movies you shouldn't see, and that was one of them. Okay. And another one called they're big on Italian. Another one called Robo War. It's essentially like RoboCop and Predator all rolled into one, and there's these army guys or whatever that are after a robot in the jungle. Oh
God.
The last from Severin is called Wax Mask. I was excited to finally see that one. It was supposed to be Lucio Fulci's last movie.
Mhm.
I believe he wrote it, but he ended up passing away, and Dario Argento got the ball rolling for him and got it made for him. So he did. Dario Argento didn't direct it, but a guy that did like a lot of, I think his effects and stuff,
Mhm.
um, ended up directing it. But I thought that was cool. It's not like Lucio Fulci great or anything, but I'm happy to have it.
Nice.
Uh, and then I'm gonna try to get back through these a little bit faster. Scream Factory, The Brain, Night of the Creeps, The Blob, um, Manitou. They put out Eli Roth's Green Inferno. I know that's a little touchy of a director. A lot of people hate him, kind of like Rob Zombie. But
Mhm.
honestly, I'm a fan because I respect him as how big of a fan he is. Like I can relate to him, so I think that helps.
Mhm.
Uh, but I don't know if you've seen much of any of his movies, like Cabin Fever or Hostel or anything. But
I've only
um,
seen bits and pieces of all of them. I've never seen a whole film by him.
okay, okay. So
Yeah.
you're not on one side or the other yet. I got
Yeah,
you.
I'm just kind of I'm fine with him, and he's acted in a bunch of movies I like, so that side of him I like.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, what was he? I know for sure. Off the top of my head, he was in Glorious Bastards. That was.
Yeah, he was the bear Jew.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um, and a blind guy called Superstition. That was a fun movie. Horror of Frankenstein. That was like a early '70s Frankenstein movie. And then they also released Silent Hill. I don't know if you ended up seeing that movie when it came out, but
Yeah, I actually love Silent Hill.
cool. Then I highly recommend if you don't own it, or even if you do, there's a Killer Scream Factory edition that came out. So,
Nice.
um, all right, and then on to Arrow. There's the Sender, Al Pacino movie called Cruising. It's a little out of the ordinary a bit for Arrow, but Arrow's been branching out, not just horror, so to speak.
Mm.
Uh, a really obscure movie that I was super excited to get because I've only seen it on VHS and I thought it was lost, called Scared Stiff. Um, there's there was a movie they put out again that was also kind of a lost one called The Prey, and the last one for Scream Factory was Lords of Chaos. I don't know if you remember me telling you about that. It was that movie about the band Mayhem.
Yeah, I still
Yeah,
haven't picked it up, but I had saved in my list.
definitely check that out. I mean, I've heard things about it, like people that are still alive from that time.
Mm.
That some things are true, some things aren't true, and they got into so much extreme shit that it's almost like, okay, I believe you that some things aren't true, but are there also things that are so ridiculous that you don't want to admit that it happened? That's kind of how I take it.
Yeah,
But you've heard enough of their story to know that was crazy isn't a big enough word for that band.
yeah.
Um, and then one that some people in America aren't don't have the complete access to because some of their movies are region B, but I wanted to say that because at least one company. Well, Arrow has region B too, but they've branched out into America. Is 88 Films. I got a few of their movies that I really enjoyed. Um, I'm probably gonna say this wrong, but Pag- Paganini horror. That was one that I was excited to get. Another Italian. Beatrice Sensi. I'm probably saying that wrong, but that's a obscure Lucio Fulci. But I wanted to say a couple of theirs just to throw them in there.
Mm.
And lastly, on releases, uh, not specific companies, but I was super excited to get them. There's a Lucio Fulci movie called The Psychic that was finally released. That was put out by Scorpion Releasing. I don't know if you can still get it. I think you can get the standard edition. So any Lucio Fulci fans, it's not one of his gore movies. It's more of his '70s, like I guess Jallo-y types things. But I highly recommend it. And a movie called New Kids from the '80s. That was a cool movie. And the last one I was going to mention is called Conquest. It's probably the most ridiculous Lucio Fulci movie ever. It's like a sorcerer kind of movie, with like like swords and stuff, and like in the olden in back in those days, like when I'm not saying it right, but I mean
Like medieval time.
yeah.
Mm,
But it's pretty bad, but I'm glad to be able to get it on Blu-ray so I can see everything. Um,
nice.
but yeah, those are I went on quite a bit on those, so those are my favorite releases of this year. We can go into now our uh, favorite movies of this year. I don't know if I said anything about that for you, or did you just do the um, which one did I mention to you? I can't remember. I had so many segments written down. Was that one of them, or was it the 10-year thing, like the decade?
It was mostly decade, and then if there are any of this year that really stood out for me.
Okay. And I know you're super busy, so you probably get movies piled up even in your head that you don't own. But
Yeah.
you did what were basically what I'm trying to say that you wanted to definitely mention that you really liked from this year.
I don't really have any. I'm so far behind right now. I'm probably a couple years behind on horror.
It happens.
Yeah.
Um, regular movies off the top of your head, like that aren't horror. Is there any not horror movies that you had seen, even if it wasn't the past couple of years, that you remember, like, oh yeah, that was really good or whatever?
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. It's definitely different with newer movies. So
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's easier. Always easier with older movies because I could have a pile of new movies that I mean to watch,
Yeah.
and still I'll end up watching a movie that I've seen 5 times. But that's kind of how it happens with me.
Yeah. Well, and there have been some decent movies lately, but I don't know. Overall, in the past, even past couple years, I haven't felt like anything's been like, oh my god, that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just watch so many movies, whether they're like I don't watch everything, but
Yeah.
I definitely watch more than just horror. So it was a little hard to narrow it down to just horror, but I'm gonna mention a couple that aren't horror because my absolute favorite movie of 2019 is not horror. So I'll
Okay.
definitely mention that. So some of these will be obvious. Some of them will be, oh, what's that? And like I said, if you're curious, just give me just shout out and I'll tell you about it.
Mm.
Um, Again, no order. Lords of Chaos was in there, but we already talked about that for my releases. So, um, It Chapter 2, I definitely really like that, and I love those movies anyway. I mean, I love pretty much anything Stephen King related, be it book, be it movie. So,
Mm.
Three from Hell, we briefly talked about that.
Yeah. And
You
that's
definitely want to check that out. So
yeah. I picked it up. It's sitting on my shelf right now.
awesome. The Dead Don't Die. I think you'd enjoy that one. Bill Murray's in it. It's kind of a zombie, I guess.
Okay.
So it's up your alley. Yeah, it's called The Dead Don't Die. It's
Is that Adam Driver too?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Driver is his partner because he plays a cop.
Hmm.
That was definitely good. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I thought was really good. I didn't like it as much as I was hoping, but I also was hoping it would be more of an anthology because it was based on a lot of short stories from I believe like the 80s and the 90s because I still have all the books. I don't know if you ever remember those growing up, but Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Us. Some people went either way with that because being who is it, Jordan Peele, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a I didn't like it as much as Get Out, but it was definitely out there. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Zombieland 2, I know you'll be checking that out, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was gonna go see it in theaters, and then it just kind of fell by the wayside.
And that sucks. Yeah, not really at the last minute, but I was able to catch it before it left town here. So.
Oh, nice.
And then for I think the last horror, because I'd like to say Doctor Sleep, which is basically a Today sequel to The Shining,
Mhm.
and it has the little boy from The Shining, Danny. He's now obviously an adult. I have not seen that, but I know if I have, that would be high on my list.
Yeah, I've heard
Uh,
really good things about it.
yeah, yeah, me too. I can't wait to see that. I'll probably just pre-order it and just buy it.
Yeah.
Um, but the last horror movie that I had seen, it was more of a like a disaster type horror movie. It was called Crawl. It was there was like this giant like flood, and it started with like a disaster movie, but then it turned into like there were I can't really describe it, but there's crocodiles involved and stuff. But it was pretty. It was one of those movies. It was definitely tense. Like it was good.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and actually, there was one other one that was kind of horror related, but it's not really. I guess it's a horror. It would depend on your perspective, but most people I've heard pretty much hated it, or they didn't hate it, but they liked John Travolta's character. It was called The Fanatic. Devon Sawa's in it. He was in some of the Final Destination movies, and he
Oh yeah.
was in Idle Hands.
He kind of disappeared for a while, and Idle Hands is one of my favorites.
Yeah, but oh man, John Travolta in this movie is just he's absolutely amazing. Like John Travolta disappears. Like he's never done a character like this ever. He basically plays this really obsessed fan that really just is so like such a big fan of this guy because Devon Sawa plays a character that's like his favorite actor like ever, and he really wants an autograph from him. But Devon Sawa is a bit of a, I guess he's a bit of an asshole. It's subject to your opinion, but
Hmm.
he's a bit intense. But he also doesn't really know John Travolta, and John Travolta's character he steps over some boundaries. Like he goes to his house. He breaks in his house at one point to like, but nothing like he's not trying to be maniacal. He's just such a big fan, but he's not all there. So I don't think he gets that that's not okay.
Hmm.
Uh, but oh man, I loved it. I really did. I may be one of the only people because so many people hate the movie for whatever reason. But The Fanatic, I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll definitely check it out.
and then my last couple for 2019 that are not horror movies was The Dirt. I know you don't like. I know you're not like big into like the higher as we've talked about vocals of 80s bands, but
Hmm.
even though that if you just watched it on its own merits, The Dirt is fucking amazing. And I think you know what I'm talking about, right? The
Yeah.
Mountain Crew movie.
Yep,
Oh,
on Netflix.
man.
I have it saved. I haven't gotten to it.
Right. So it's definitely something like even though you're not a fan of the band, if it's a good movie, you'll still check it out.
Yeah.
Nice. And my last one, my absolute favorite movie of this year that I finally got because it came out recently, and I've been kind of not being able to get it because of Christmas, but I found somebody on eBay with it for like $15, and yeah, it was missing the digital code, but I got a Target exclusive because it came with this book. And it's really cool. Is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh my God,
Oh,
I saw it at the theater like 3 times, and I loved it so much.
oh man, it's another one that I wanted to go see in theaters and just didn't get the chance.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got the chance because I honestly didn't know. Like, you probably remember from when you lived here that
Mhm.
it's kind of up in the air what they get. Like, they'll get the big, huge movies, like the superhero movies and stuff. You know that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if they would get that movie or not because I honestly don't know if they've ever got a Quentin Tarantino movie. To be honest, they might have, but I don't know.
Not that I remember.
Plus, Quentin Tarantino's definitely another one that I don't know if you know this, but excuse me, a lot of people have. It's one of those you either love him or hate him thing, but a
Mhm.
lot of people hate him to me stupid reasons because I take it a different way. Like, oh, this shot's exactly the same as this, or blah blah blah, because he's such an intense movie fan. Like, it way surpassed me, but.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning movies that I'm like, oh my God, Quentin Tarantino just talked about pieces, or like I genuinely just love that. Like he was, I love Quentin Tarantino movies, and there
Yeah.
really hasn't been one that maybe Jackie Brown. It's not that I didn't like it. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but that was
Yeah.
probably my least favorite if I had to make an order.
Yeah.
But
Same.
yeah, uh, but man, did you see The Hateful Eight?
Oh yeah.
Man, that's so good. Some people can't get through it because it's so long, but a lot of his movies are so long, or because I've also heard the same thing with Hateful Eight, where people are a bit because of when it's set. You know, like it's set like in the 1800s or whatever, and
Yeah.
that some people off. And I guess I get it, but that doesn't bother me, man. And
No,
that
not at all.
the end of the like what is it like the last like 15 minutes or so of the movie, it makes everything worth it. Like, not that everything wasn't already worth it, because
Yeah.
it's like it's like one of those like you can't trust anybody, and oh wow. But
It's just such a slow burn, and then when it finally explodes, it's big.
so good. I love that
Yeah.
movie. I've watched this times. I even watched it on Netflix because they I don't mean to laugh, but I get it. Some people, because it's so long, they broke it up. Did you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and they
Like
added
in segments?
more footage and everything.
Right. And I watched it and I thought it was good that way. But if a movie's good enough, if the movie's that good to me, I don't care how long it is. Like
Yeah.
and it's that good too. It doesn't even feel that long.
No, not at all.
And same thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a long movie. I think it's pretty much like most of his movies, maybe like 2.5 hours. I have it right in front of me, but the print is so tiny. But yeah, it's around there. But every time I watched it at the theater, it was like, oh no, it's over already. Because there's a certain scene that is like a cue, like, oh, it's almost over. And again, without giving anything away of the movie, a lot of people I don't think liked it because, excuse me, as I did initially, they went into it like this was like the main characters, um, um, Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Brad Pitt's character. They weren't real people, but it's surrounding a lot of real things that really did happen.
Mm.
But fuck it. I was gonna say I don't know if I want to say it on the podcast for people who haven't seen it, but it might help some people. I'm not giving away the ending, but basically what I'm saying is don't expect fact, because same thing with Inglorious Bastards. At the end of Inglorious Bastards, that wasn't fact. He basically just made it like this is what should have happened, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that's how I took Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it's I don't know how much you know about it, but it definitely revolves around Hollywood in that time, of course, like the Charles Manson, the Manson family and stuff.
Yeah.
But the outcome is not what you expect, and that's all I'm going to say. And that could even be too much. But anyway, those are my favorite movies for this year. I would have liked to mention The Irishman because I'm a giant fan of Martin Scorsese, but I have not yet watched it. So
Same. I put it on my list and it just sat there.
and for anybody also listening, if you have trouble with that, I don't get it, but you know, I understand. They separated that too. They did
Oh.
the same thing with that as they did with Hateful Eight, so you can
I
watch
didn't
it
realize-
either way. Yeah. So yeah, those are my favorites of 2019. Was there anything else you might want to talk about or mention, even if it just came to mind about different? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Before I get into the past 10 years or whatever.
The only one that came to me was John Wick 3. I'm
Yeah,
a John Wick fan. I love the third one. There were some bits and pieces that I wasn't crazy about, but so far the trilogy, it's been great.
nice. I'm glad you mentioned that because me and Brian have made a point to go to the theater to see them, and they didn't get 3, and not just because of that, but because I watch so much, it's always easier for me. Like, oh, it's at the theater, I can just go. I'm right there.
Yeah.
But they didn't get the third one, so I haven't seen it yet. Like,
Ah.
I just got to borrow it from Brian or just buy it, whichever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Right.
if you like the second one, you'll definitely like the third one.
Oh, definitely. And I like Keanu Reeves in basically anything anyway.
Yeah.
So. I can't wait for it's cheesy and silly as it is. I don't know if you heard about this, but they're making a new Bill and Ted as we speak.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited for it.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. One thing that has nothing to do with anything horror, anything, but some people be like, "Oh, that's why would you talk about that? That's so like mushy or whatever. But I don't care. I just treat it as I'm talking to you. If anybody else wants to listen, one of my favorite memories, movie related this year, that was a big deal for me, and I'm gonna say it. I don't care. It was the first time I went to the movies with just me and Corey.
Mm.
Um, and granted, it was his pick, but I like kids movies too, so I don't care.
Oh
But
yeah, I'm a huge fan.
yeah, I brought him to Secret Life of Pets too, and we had a blast. So that's one of my favorite memories of the movie theater from this year that I wanted to mention.
Nice.
But that's cool. I don't know if I knew that you like some kids movies and stuff like Toy Story 4. I really liked from this year. That's not horror, but hey, it was this year.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, but I love Toy Story. I've always been a huge fan of those.
Absolutely. That'll be the new thing. Other people will be chiming in like, I like your podcast, but you get way off into like movies that most people wouldn't like think about because of horror. And you know what? That's just my brain. And obviously, you have a similar brain.
Yeah.
Where I don't limit myself. I'm very open-minded. I'll basically watch anything, and if I like it, I don't care if it's a little baby kids movie or whatever. If it's good, it's good. I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, and I always tell people I'll watch anything but Twilight.
Yeah. I watch, and I'm admitting it on the podcast because I have no. I don't get embarrassed, but this is one that if I ever was, it would be the closest thing to it. Because again, I'm not. I watched the first one, but it was only because you know how rapidly I watch movies.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it, so
wow.
I watched it, and somehow I didn't find like how is that? I know how is that possible because of how big it is.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't on social media at that time, really.
Oh yeah.
And so and I watched it, and I didn't hate it, but I get it. I get the like. For people like us that really like actual horror movies or even shitty horror movies, like neither. Like this is the teeny bopper girly shit. Like now, like all the memes, like you'll see like an old vampire, or like a real vampire, and I'm not even big into vampires either. But there was a Lost Boys one that I like something about him fucking sparkling or something. But that was always a total like ugh thing. Like
yeah.
vampire. It's more like it's either vampires or it's vampires. Like that's how I take Twilight, so I get it.
Yeah.
Anybody listen? I'm not picking on you. Like whatever the hell you want. Don't listen to anybody that hates anything. But I get it. Unfortunately, I've given too much time to it already. But unfortunately, I saw it by accident.
Yeah, it's one I know I'll hate it. I've gone out of my way to not watch it.
Don't do it. I'll recommend 1,000,000 movies, but don't do it. One last 2019 that I wanted to say that I haven't seen that I'm excited about is the new Rambo. I'm definitely excited for that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've heard much anything about it, but
no, I know.
Last Blood.
It takes place on his farm, and he's just murdering again.
Yeah, pretty much.
When's he gonna stop?
I know it's called Last Blood, but movies have thrown those words around before.
Yeah.
There's only so much, not to get because he's not getting any younger. So that's probably the only thing that's going to stop him when it's his time, because he's just going to keep making movies, and it's not entirely just him. I mean, he's making sequels because that's what Hollywood wants. They want sequels or remakes or reboots. So something like that. I'm not the guy where I'm like, oh, you've made enough. When it comes to sequels, if I really love it, you can give me 20 million Friday the 13th, I'll watch them. You can give me 15 whatever Rambo movies, I'll watch them. That's how I am.
Yeah, it's like me with Die Hard. Keep going, I don't care.
Can't wait. I hope there's another one. I really do.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I even like some of the I liked all of them. I mean, I like probably the first the best, but those other two are really good too.
Yeah.
But okay. that was a little cool conversation about whatever, and I like doing that. So it gives you more to talk about because I'm always rambling on. Sometimes I know you feel like, oh, I don't have a lot to say. Well, I know, and I don't shut up. So we'll come to a happy medium somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I mean, you make my life easier.
Okay, and whatever works. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. I did mention this before. Now we're gonna go into favorite movies of the past decade because as we started the podcast and I mentioned that it doesn't feel like another decade. It was
Yeah.
pretty much. I was more reminded by other lists and podcasts that were like, "Oh, favorite this of the decade, favorite that," and I'm like, "Oh, you're right." Like it didn't even dawn on me until I
Yeah.
said those things.
It's like, I guess it's over.
Okay. Well, some people maybe think that's terrible, but I don't think it. I don't. There's been a lot of good things this decade, but I guess I don't look at it like this milestone decade. I guess I don't know. It's not. I don't know. And maybe it's because we're getting older. Maybe and maybe like younger people will be like, "What are you talking about?" But how we look back on decades when we were growing up, or even before we were alive, that are to us are like the amazing, like the '80s or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anyway, like I said, now keep in mind, I as well as I guess I can speak for both of us. We are for the most part more into older movies, but we like a lot of newer movies as well.
Mm.
Um, uh, m- my decades are 70s and 80s for the most part, but I like movies from all over the time. I like especially horror movies, but I like all types of movies.
Yeah.
Even all the way back to like the 30s. I go back that far. I'll even go back farther if it's good. I don't care.
Yeah. Same.
Definitely. Awesome. Did we just become best friends again? Yep.
Were we ever not?
Oh, yeah. No, I said again.
No,
Like
man.
again, like another level of a best friend. We were already best friends, but now we're another level. Anyway,
You guys don't even understand. I barely did.
you don't even know.
You don't even know.
Oh man, we're getting off on the tangent, but I have to mention this because it geeks me out every time. You know how we always do that because of Dane Cook? You don't even know. Um, I said that to Brian like earlier this year, and he stopped me in my tracks because usually one of us will say it and we'll just geek out, right?
Yeah.
He actually I didn't know what to say. I was like, you don't even know, and he's like, I don't even care, and I'm like, ah.
You got me. Oh, man.
Anyway, we'll just do more of this. Like even when we're talking. Oh no, they're getting off base. Yeah, that's what we do.
That's who we are.
That's who we are. I hope you like it. If you don't, you'll get used to it. If you don't,
Yeah.
oh well. We're
If
just
you
doing
don't-
this for the fun of it anyway.
Yeah. And if you don't, leave a comment, you know?
Exactly. Comment, like, subscribe. I'll say it. I'll keep saying it.
I'm gonna keep sneaking them in there. Ring that bell. That's something they tell me to do all the time.
Ring that bell. That's right. There's the bell. Like right, because when you subscribe, there's different levels of subscribing. Just
Yeah.
subscribe to all, because when you subscribe to all, you ring the bell. It's got little things next to it. It's pretty cool.
And
Anyway,
go
ahead.
ahead. One more thing. My a buddy of mine at work, he actually subscribed and he did the notifications. So
Nice.
the first time we posted and he was subscribed to it, he sent me a screenshot and he got all excited. I got all excited.
Sweet. Awesome.
So
It,
there's one person listening.
nice. It'll be slow going, but we'll get there. I haven't got to the point of like posting in a lot of groups. I have in some, but not a lot of groups. It's mainly like on my pages. Like that's another thing we could say too. We could add to like at the end if you don't care, adding like our come check us out like on our social media pages and stuff, and check out other things we're doing. Like even if we don't post a lot, you can still find stuff through us. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, where was I? No, we already did that. Movies of the past decade?
Yeah.
Question mark. That's what we're gonna call it. The movies of the past decade. So when if you forget, I'll put it.
I'm gonna write it down right now.
Yeah, movies of the past decade. decade? Question mark, because it doesn't feel like it, but okay, it is. I don't know what to call this episode, but we'll figure that out too. Maybe just favorites of 2009 slash decade. Like we could do something like that. That's what you could call it. Movies of favorites of 2019. Don't even have to say movies. Just favorites of 2019 slash of the decade.
I like it.
Perfect. Okay. When my phone. Oh, sure. You're gonna go back to the top. I moved it so it did the whole like rotate screen, so it kicked me to the top. Okay, as long as I didn't delete everything like I did. Well, not everything, but that was so annoying. I was on a roll and I was writing cool stuff, and I deleted half of the fucking thing somehow. I don't even know how. It was, and I maybe it's because I don't know how to do it, but I tried every which way. I just have Android, so I don't. You probably can do it better on Apple, but.
I don't use Apple, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So that's another thing. Like, the only reason why I use anything Apple related, I'm not an Apple snob, but do I really want to spend that much on a fucking phone?
Yeah, that they make it fail.
Yeah, so they can in 6 months, and I'm being generous with 6 months. It's less than that, isn't it?
At this point, pretty much.
Like, call me a snob. I don't even care, but it's just become like the cool thing. You know what I mean? New iPhone's out, and I'm like, oh, really? That's cool. I just bought my phone. It was like $60 or whatever. I'm cool. Like, I don't care enough about my phone, even though I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm when it comes to that, like, no, I don't want a piece of shit. I'll get a good phone. I'll do my research, but I don't need to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone that you're just replace again in 6 months. It's stupid to me. But I will say, obviously, one thing that we do, and probably the only thing, right, is iPod.
Yeah,
and
that's the only thing I have.
And honestly, I think I can't say I think the only reason why I was late to the game, why I got an iPod initially was because it's the only way you can get that much space.
Yeah.
And I mean, the new touch, I found a new touch that has like 240 or something like that. That'll be my next one. But yeah, that's the only thing I get Apple related. It's funny too, because I mean, some people say like, and I know some people will correct it or whatever, and they're like, no, that's not true. But okay, that's fine. But you can do pretty much a lot of the same shit. Like, I don't get why it costs so much more. You're paying for a name, really.
Yeah, that's all it is. And half the parts, like Samsung phones they use Samsung screens. It's all the same.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, the internals aren't anything special.
Yeah, you know that technical stuff. That's funny because, yeah. Okay, anyway, this is going to be a long podcast, but it's cool because I like going off on tangents. Yeah. These are, and this is a long list, so this is going to take a bit. I'll try not to talk too much about individuals, but you may talk about individuals as much as you want. What were some of yours, even if you don't want to say all of them, because I have so many, you wanted to mention from the past decade that you really enjoyed for movies?
Movies in general? I'm going to start. I already mentioned.
We're at that point. I don't even care. Just, movies.
John Wick, definitely. I'm a huge action fan. I grew up with 90s action. Die Hard 2, two of my favorite movies. And it's fun. It's well choreographed. You know, the story is nothing like super special, but it's just a classic revenge film, and I love it.
Nice, definitely.
Yeah. And Keanu he kills it. He does such a good job as that monotone, I don't really care. I just want to get some revenge. Like he's perfect.
Any others you want to mention right off the top, or you want me to go ahead?
You have more, so I'll wait.
All right. You can. How about this? Mention one more. I need to get a drink.
Okay. The other one, I'll start right in my order. Hatchet 2.
Yeah, Adam Green.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, I absolutely loved Hatchet, but it doesn't fall into this decade. So I have to go with Hatchet 2 that started strong right in 2010.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because that was one of mine I put on my list automatically, and then I was like, shit, I was a little off. I did that quite a bit. Like movies that were like 2009 or 8, and you're like, damn it.
But yeah, if people don't know it, it's just like it kind of goes with that old school, almost campy, but it just like classic horror slasher murderer. I don't know. It's just a fun movie. He doesn't take it too seriously.
Yeah, definitely, and it's like a comedy. Is my on a side note, is my audio weird at the moment because I had to switch so I could carry the computer because, like I said, I was getting a drink.
It's not bad. It just sounds like a different mic.
Okay, yeah. It'll only last a second. I'm just grabbing something.
But yeah, the other thing,
so that's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. I just started geeking out because all I pictured was Holliston speaking to Adam. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Remember that? No, go ahead.
Go ahead. God.
All right.
Yeah, Adam Green is awesome. He just like a good indie filmmaker. He knows what he's doing. He likes to have fun with it, and he makes the movies. And in the show, it was for the fans. You know, it wasn't to make a dollar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
do I sound better now? I'm back to the good mic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. But yeah, we had to get. It's cool that was your first horror movie you mentioned because that was at the top of my list too. Is just Adam Green in general because. He's just great, and like you said, it is for the fans. He's one of the only ones too, and I'm not knocking anybody else. I know sometimes with some people at conventions, that's how they make a living now. You know, they're not in movies all the time, but Adam never charges for his autograph ever. Yeah. He has stuff for sale, sure. He's got to make money to make another movie because it's all like ABC independent. That's how he does it with Ariscope, you know.
Yeah.
But he will not charge you for his autograph. He's like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, and you can give him a stack of whatever, and he's so cool about it. He's excited to meet the fans.
Oh, absolutely, and I have. I've had 20-minute conversations with him as he's signing stuff. It's just he's just so great. I even watch his like everything that has to do with him. His Facebook Live posts, his podcast, his on the last podcast I mentioned his him and Joe do I can imagine just tiring isn't a big enough word, but I can't think of one 48-hour podcast where they stay up for 48 hours, longer than that even, because they do a pre-show. And they just have all those guests and stuff, and they do it, and they do that for dogs, and every bit of money they raise, be it at an auction or people donate, all goes to those places. That place, like there's a certain rescue that they give it to, but they're just awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely got to mention Joe too, because I would say I'm way more into more of Adam's movies, but only because Joe doesn't. I don't think he really has as many. But when he has a good movie, he has a good movie. Did you see Mayhem?
No, I still haven't checked it out.
Mayhem is really good. I've heard mixed things about Point Blank, but that's on Netflix. That was his last movie. He didn't really go into it on the podcast, but he mentioned it almost like he's like, I don't know if he's not proud of it or what, but he kind of gave that vibe. But I'll still check it out. I mean, man, he's done some really cool movies. He started with Wrong Turn 2. Granted, it was a sequel, but it's the best one in the series. So, but back with Adam Green, I wanted to mention, because you mentioned Hatchet 2. I'm just going all out. With certain things, I tried to pick like a certain movie from a certain actor or director, but with Adam Green, it's really pretty much all of his movies that he's released in the past 10 years, because he did Hatchet 2, as you mentioned, Hatchet 3, Victor Crowley. Victor Crowley was so good. Did you watch Victor Crowley?
No, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Oh, man. You know what to expect, though. It's great. And You mentioned Holliston. I did have that on there. It's not really a movie, but
But for
it's Adam
horror
Green related.
fans,
It's yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Even though it's like a sitcom, it's about horror. Really,
yeah.
it's about horror and real life and having an imaginary friend that just happens to be Odorous Orungus. Rest in peace from Guar.
Who lived in his closet?
Yes, who lived in his closet. I
Yeah,
love the episode where he went in the closet and there was like some passageway or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, and he ended up on stage with Guar.
yeah.
Adam, what are you doing here? Oh man,
So good.
I can't wait. I hope he's able to do a third season because I'm not that guy because so many people bug him whenever he does like Facebook Lives or just message him like, "Where's season 3? Where's season 3?" He's trying.
Yeah,
They all have to be on the same page. All 4 main characters are always doing something else, and it costs money. And again, I don't care anybody that like I will not apologize for saying something like this. I don't care for anybody that's listening that is like, "Oh, whatever, man. They got money. Who cares? Just download it. I'm a fan. It's owed to me." You're not owed anything, okay? You're a fan, so if you're a fan, to me, I take it the opposite. You support them.
Mhm.
You don't like I'm a fan, so I shouldn't have to pay for it. I've heard those exact words from people for movies and music. I'm like, I can't associate with you. You're a completely different kind of person. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I'll admit it. I'll get certain things that I'll check out,
Mhm.
but it's only to check it out. And now I don't really have to do that because there's YouTube.
Yeah,
I'll check it out on YouTube, and if I like it, I'll buy it. You know.
Yeah.
But some people get ridiculous on that, like and they'll always bring up Lars. Remember back then, like Lars was the first one to speak out about downloading people like, "Oh, he's rich. What the fuck? All he's doing is talking about them stealing his music. He's got money." What the fuck does that have anything to do with it? That'd be like if you went to work and somebody took your paycheck, you know? Like,
yeah,
what? I'm a fan of yours. I'm entitled to this. Like, I know that's extreme, but it's not that far off.
yeah.
Anyway, I've rambled on enough about that because we mentioned Adam. I didn't expect to get into that, but I will mention one more Adam movie is Digging Up the Marrow. I don't know if you got to see that, but that's a really good one as well.
See, this podcast is gonna make me realize I suck.
You don't suck. You're just busy. I have no life
Yeah.
other than, well, I shouldn't say no life because my family is my life,
Yeah,
but this is a better way. Forget that I said no life. I don't sleep. Sleep is overrated. Sometimes it catches up with me and I get sick or I get grumpy or whatever, but that's why I get to watch so many movies because
Yeah.
my family's asleep. I can watch something. Should I go to bed or should I watch 3 movies? I should watch 3 movies. And that's what I do, but anyway, yeah. I had to mention that. That's the kind of person I am. Sleep
Yeah.
is overrated.
Oh man, but yeah, I bought it. It's sitting on my shelf right now. I haven't-
Okay, so you're to that point at least.
Yep,
So
I'm
it's
in the
good.
right direction.
Yes. So yeah, that was our little 15-minute thing on, maybe not 50, maybe 10 on Adam Green, but he deserves it. He deserves a whole podcast.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we could do a whole episode in the future, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. We could just go through his stuff and just talk about it. Like no
Yeah.
order, just go through it. We could even start from the beginning and just go through it, you know?
Yeah.
Even it is in the past. That's a good thing from the past 10 years. It's not a movie, but I'll try to mention one more thing about Adam Green and not anymore. Every year he does a horror short on Ariscope, and they're so good. Like some of them are creepy, and a lot of them are hilarious, but they're a lot of fun. A lot of them are on YouTube as well. But he said he's done a short every year since I believe 1998 when he started. So there's some fun ones in
crazy.
there. Notably, because it's in the past 10 years, I want to mention. It is. I think so. I could be off, but anyway, he does one with Joe Lynch that is they're trick or treating,
Mm.
and the episode is about how when you were trick or treating as a kid, and there was that honor bowl Like it was the honor bowl. You only just take one,
Mm.
and the whole podcast was just a podcast. Yeah, the whole episode was just them talking about the honor bowl and like just take one. Don't do it, man. Don't take more. And then they get into it to the point where like you find out what happens if you take more, and then they get decapitated, and then it's pretty funny.
Nice.
Okay, so that was a little tease of a future episode because we'll go into Adam Green. I'll have to get on with these massive lists. Sorry, Adam, this will be a long podcast. I'm trying. Hopefully you're not too tired. If you got to take a nap, just let me know and I'll keep talking. I had to mention Kane Hodder. I'm a big fan of Kane Hodder. I wanted to mention a few of his movies.
Mhm.
A movie called Exit 33. That's a really good one. A movie called Old 37, which is also stars Bill Moseley. That's a really good one. Yeah, definitely write that one down. Old 37.
Okay.
And then there is a comedy one that's like comedy horror called Smothered. And it's basically about, they kind of play themselves to a degree. And it's about Kane and a bunch of other people that, and I'm not going to go into it, but there's a lot of people that you would see at conventions. I'll go, I think they go like camping or something before a convention, and like there's a killer, and I won't go into what smothered means because it's ridiculous, but yeah, I had to mention Kane because you know how big of a fan I am of Kane.
Oh yeah, he's such a cool dude. I don't know how you can't be a fan.
He's such a cool dude, but he's such a weird combination of a human because it's like he's the nicest guy in the world, but yet you're still intimidated. Like he might kill me.
Yeah, especially after he said he looked at me. I had a long beard. It was at least 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. He was like, I've never choked anybody with their own beard before.
I remember that.
Yeah. I was like, all
some
right.
of the shit that comes out of his mouth is so great.
That's
I love his sense of humor. Last thing I'll mention on Kane is in a movie. It's called The Killer and I. He did a book with his ghostwriter. I hate that I'm spacing on his name because I'm a fan of his too. That Kane did his book Unmasked with, but he also did The Killer and I, which is about his experiences with Kane. And then they also did a TV show where there was like a bunch of short episodes. I don't remember. I might have mentioned that to you, but that was fun.
Yeah,
I think it might be on YouTube. Yeah.
We got to see. I think it was one episode.
Oh yeah. Yep. Before it was out or whatever.
Yeah. They did like a little teaser for us.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, definitely Kane Hodder stuff. I'm gonna get going through more of this list a little bit quicker. I wanted to mention Nick Principe. I don't know, you remember? He's definitely a very independent actor, but he's a cool dude, and I haven't talked to him in a long time because he deleted like all of his social media. But I used to talk to him all the time. But he did a few movies that were pretty good and pretty fucked up. I want to say Laid to Rest because I prefer Laid to Rest better than the sequel Chrome Skull. But that didn't come out in the past 10 years. So kind of like Hatchet, when you mentioned that. Chrome Skull, Laid to Rest 2. He plays Chrome Skull. A movie called Caller, which is definitely fucked up to say, but again, who cares? When I bought the DVD from him and I hadn't seen the movie, before his autograph, he literally wrote the words, "Get ready for some rape." And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
And he wasn't kidding. Caller is brutal.
Oh.
But it's called Caller. And it's not really horror, but I know you really liked it too. And it had to be mentioned for Nick Principe as American Muscle.
Yeah.
That was it. That's a cool, obscure movie if anybody can find. That's a fun movie.
Yeah. At one point, Walmart had it, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just another like a good independent film that felt like it could have been bigger. Like a real studio could have picked it up.
Right, like if they had more money, it could have been longer. It could have had more elaborate effects or whatever. Definitely. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, like it was so good. It should have been.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I just want to a few with Nick. Another few were another really independent guy that I actually know personally, Tom DiNucci. We watched one of his movies at Rock and Shock. I remember you saying you weren't too keen on the ending, but you liked the movie overall. What was that called? Infected, I think.
I can't remember.
I think it was Infected that we saw, but you at least remember like when we got like free tickets to a screening or whatever. But Infected was one of them. A movie called Incubus. It had Robert Englund in it. A movie called Self Storage, and my favorite movie of his is called Army of the Damned, which actually also has Nick Principe in it, and he's fucking hilarious. He's not a killer. He's hilarious. And the movie's not a comedy. He's just hilarious. The one thing that'll turn some people off, be it whatever your opinions, I don't know, but it's something that you wouldn't expect as an actor. But Sully Erna from Godsmack is the star of the movie, and he actually does a really good job. Like I wouldn't know what to expect, but even if you're not a Godsmack fan, I thought he did a good job. But Army of the Damned, I recommend that. Tony Todd's in it as well.
Oh, nice.
That helps. All right. More. I'm a little bit less on regular people, and I'll be able to start reading. If there was any other movies that you had that you wanted to mention, since I mentioned a bunch.
I will say, and I've mentioned this one a few times already. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, that was on my list, and I knew you would say it, so I didn't get to it on purpose.
Nice.
We will be doing a podcast on that for sure.
Oh, and I'm so excited for that one.
I almost think before you get into it, because I know you talked a little bit about it, but I know you want to talk a little bit more about it. I don't know what we'll do on it. We'll probably do an episode, but I almost think it would be the most fun for our first episode. And if you have different thoughts about it, just tell me. I'm up for whatever. I'm easygoing. I think it'd be the funnest just to do a podcast, obviously. A commentary for it to start with, because I think that would just be fun. It'd just be loose. We just talk about what we're watching and whatever pops into our head for like if there was any facts or whatever. I just think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm down for that.
Awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I figured that would be one for you that you'd want to mention. Was there another one, or do you want me to continue?
I'll let you continue.
Okay. I know. I'm trying. I know it's getting up there, but I don't have terribly much left. There's a very, very obscure movie called Compound Fracture that starred Derek Mears, Leslie Easterbrook, who was in the Police Academy movies. He was the really tall blonde. I don't know how much you've seen of the Police Academy movies, but
I've seen most of them, but I can't remember him for some reason.
No. Derek Mears was the guy. Leslie Easterbrook was the tall chick with the. She was very sexual. She had big boobs. That girl.
I totally misunderstood.
Okay, she's in it. She's also in like some Rob Zombie stuff. Tyler Mane is in it.
Oh, nice.
Todd Farmer is in it. He wrote the remake to My Bloody Valentine. He also wrote Jason X. But it's called Compound Fracture. It's a weird one, but it's good. All right. One that's not exactly a horror movie, but it's brutal enough to be kind of in that vein. Maybe more exploitation, but it's called Cheap Thrills. It was on Netflix at one point, but I definitely have to buy it. It's basically just about these two guys. Ethan Embry stars in it. He was in. He's been in so much, and I'm such a big fan. But I'm trying to think of anything you might know because it's more obscure stuff. But he was in like Empire Records. I don't know if you ever saw that in the 90s.
No, but John Cusack?
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else he was in. Ethan Embry. But yeah, anyway, he's in it, and I can't pronounce the fucking guy's name, but he's in a lot of comedies. He's in like Anchorman and stuff. David, I don't know how to say his name.
It's either Keckner or Ketchner.
Yes, he's in it, but he's not like it's not a comedy role. Okay. It's basically these two guys that are betting each other to keep doing more and more fucked up things to the point where it gets to be things that are towards themselves, like
Oh,
like mutilation, and like you cut off your finger, I'll do this, and like it just keeps going and going and going. It's so good. It's called Cheap Thrills.
okay. I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah, definitely do that. Um, a couple other Ethan Embry, as I was trying to think. He did a movie that it could go either way for some people, but I thought it was really good. It was called Convergence. It's on Prime. But my absolute favorite movie or one of my absolute favorite movies of last year, it was called Devil's Candy. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but if it is, you gotta see that movie. It's really good. It's called Devil's Candy.
Okay.
And then now I'm more to just movies, so I'll just start shooting them off. And possibly my favorite movie of last year, along with Devil's Candy, Summer of '84. That's on Shudder. That's a really fun movie. It's almost got kind of like an It vibe, but it's not. Only because it's like a coming of age movie, and it's a group of friends that are like mid-teens or whatever, and one of them suspects his neighbor of being a serial killer that also happens to be a cop, so it's harder, so nobody believes him. Really good. Summer of '84.
Okay.
One that more people know, that I definitely put on my list of absolute favorites, is Get Out. I loved Get Out. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but
No, I haven't.
I really like Get Out. That's a very very tense, very uncomfortable, like trapped feeling type movie. It Chapter 1. I mentioned Chapter 2 from this year. Definitely Chapter 1. A movie that a lot of people have talked about, that it deserves everything that it's talked about. There's only one trick to it, and I'll explain that in a second. It's called Train to Busan. It's a infected zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly like 28 Days movies, but it's infected. I have to point that specifically because they're fast. But god damn, I really love that movie. But the trick is, it's on a lot of streaming services, but it's in Korean. So the only way to watch it is, and I thought this was awesome because they don't do this a lot lately, is on the Blu-ray, there is a dub track. So you can watch it in English.
Oh, cool.
But that's how I found out, because I have the Blu-ray. I was like, I'm just getting the Blu-ray. I'm not fucking around with this. I did my research, and I was like, I'm not bothering watching it on here. Not that I won't watch subtitle movies, but if you have the choice. All right, and I'll get through some more here. Just reel them off. A movie called We Are Still Here. That was a really good one. There's a lot of movies called Krampus, but Krampus 2015 was really good. Happy Death Day. It could go either way, but I have a lot of fun with that. It's kind of like a Groundhog Day repeater type thing. Like every day repeats for her, but I really had fun with that.
Nice.
Movie called Mother. That's more of a mainstream movie.
Oh yeah, with Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence, thank you. I was trying to think, but that movie is fucking weird. Like it's the best way to describe it is a fever dream. Like there's no exact plot to it, and you don't even know it. You're like right with her, and she doesn't know what's going on, and you don't know what's going on. But you're still, but at the same time, you're still hooked. Like what's happening next? But it's called Mother, I believe. It's with an exclamation point, but another big one, Hereditary. I really like that one. And then my lower in my list, some The Conjuring. I really like those movies. Sinister. I really like those movies. I mentioned Green Inferno. It's really mainstream, but I don't care. As I said, I don't care what stream it's in. If I like it, I like it. I loved The Nun, and for some reason, as many movies as I've seen, that fucking Nun creeps me out. And that's saying a lot, because you know how much I've watched, but oh my god, like I feel like a little kid. Like I'm scared. like I love The Nun. It's so good.
Nice.
One that I think I mentioned to you. No, the title doesn't give anything away, because this doesn't in fact happen. But John Dies at the End. That's a fun movie.
I own it. I haven't watched it.
Awesome. So give you more initiative there. Because of the same director, even though he didn't direct Phantasm 4. I was going to say Phantasm 4 because that's came out. I'm a big fan of those movies. Again, really weird, surreal movies. Everything doesn't make sense, but it's one of those like just stick around for the ride. You don't know what you're going to see, what you're going to feel. But yeah, those are a few more. I have not too many more left. If you wanted to mention another one.
Yeah, I will go. I'm going right from 2010 to 2011. I've got Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
That's cool. I gotta watch that again because
Yeah.
believe it or not, I wasn't too big on it when I first saw it, but maybe you can sell me.
Yeah. Well, I went into it thinking it was like straight horror. They did a good job with the ads, really messing with you.
Yeah.
And it turned into like almost sci-fi, kind of trippy. Like once it got to the middle, I was like, all right, I don't have to take this seriously. This is just a fun movie.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Like once I shut off, I liked it.
Yeah, I think I went into it wrong. Like I almost like you said, you go into it a certain way, and my brain just switched.
Yeah.
Which is weird for me because usually I like stuff like that, but I only saw it when it came out.
Yeah. But yeah, it goes with the whole the old school cabin in the woods, serial killer kind of story, and then it just flips it on its head halfway through.
Right. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I'll give it another shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and anybody that hasn't seen it, definitely worth a watch at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. It's one of those like I only remember my first time, but I've also in the past I watched so many movies. I have some favorite movies that over time they became favorite, but the first time I watched them I didn't like it. So who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, good choice. That was not on my list because of those reasons. So cool. Gives me initiative to check it out again.
Yeah.
So okay. So are you kind of going by year? I started that and then I got out of control.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't do a lot of homework, so I only have a handful.
That's cool.
So to go by year was pretty easy for me.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, in anything I mentioned, like I said before, just as we did with when we got on the Adam Green tangent, just speak up, just be like, yeah, definitely. Like even if it's not on your list.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Okay, that was too much dead air, but we'll try to either cut that out or just say fuck it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to say anything else or?
No, that one's tough because if you haven't seen it, explaining much more will just ruin it for you.
Okay, true.
Yeah, so I will say, like, if anybody's interested from that little bit I said, definitely give it a shot. And if you already know the ending, it's still worth the ride. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You sold me to want to see it again because it was one that I was when I was looking through, I was like, nah, like putting it on my list because I remember like I wasn't that impressed, but I'm gonna check it out again for sure. Nice. My next two are definitely again. Well, I'm big on obscure. I'll just stop saying that. But when I say obscure, maybe I won't stop saying that because that means it's harder to find. I wanted to mention another actress this time. Danielle Harris did a couple movies in the past 10 years that I really, really liked.
Sweetheart.
Yeah, absolutely. She did a movie called Cyrus, and not to be confused with the movie from Jonah Hill called Cyrus. That one's definitely really good. And another one called Shiver. It's been a while since I've seen him, and I don't want to mix up the two, but I know definitely one of them, she's like a reporter, and she's trying to get a story with a serial killer, but he ends up, which isn't helping because I'm saying this, and I don't know which one, but I think it's Shiver. It might be Cyrus. Cyrus makes more sense being like the serial killer, like a name, but he ends up like kidnapping her and like not letting her leave and stuff. But those two are really good. I don't know if you've seen many of the Purge movies. I do like those movies.
Yeah, I've seen I think the first two only.
Nice.
So yeah, but I was a big fan of both of them.
Oh, cool, cool. So I wasn't gonna go into like all of them. Some of these is hard because kind of like Adam Green, like I can't really pick. He did so many great stuff. But if I had to pick a favorite Purge, it would actually help because if you've only seen the first couple, I believe it's the third one. My favorite one is Election Year. That
Okay.
one I really had fun with. Um, and then another one, it was a hard one to watch, and because it's that hard, some people were turned off by it. But it's so weird and like kind of gross, and it was weird because I think it was one of Kevin Smith's first movies that wasn't a comedy, but was Tusk. You remember hearing about that, seeing that?
So I
Yeah, I know a
actually
lot
have that in my
of hate it,
like,
but
it's on my not crazy about list.
okay, I get it, I get
Mhm.
it, but I think in a weird way I like it because of how like it's just there's nothing else like it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like saying it's a great movie, not necessarily, but it's saying something about a movie that I saw that long ago and I still can't get it out of my head.
yeah,
So
it's
I may be taking
definitely.
it the wrong way, but are we gonna say?
Oh, it's definitely like a bizarre and an original story, and but I don't know, I can appreciate it, but overall I wasn't a fan of it.
Okay, so maybe that's more my like I maybe I more appreciate it than I actually love it or anything.
Yeah,
But I guess I liked it enough to I did buy it. But I think
yeah.
I bought it before I saw it, but I don't remember that if I did or I didn't. Um, but that's a weird one.
Ah, it's
Yeah,
trippy.
I'll leave it at this. Whether you like it or you don't like it, you're not going to forget it.
Yeah.
Briefly, I was going to go, and this is again, this is something that is kind of taboo with some people. Some people love them, some people hate them. But there's a few movies that were, as they call, found footage movies that I did like. I know a lot of people don't like found footage movies. I can't say I'm a giant found footage fan, but I will say I'm bigger than most because if it's done good, like I really enjoy it.
Mm.
I like it regardless of even if it's found footage or not. Um, but one of them, I'll say an obscure one and a more, I guess, mainstream one is there's one called Unfriended, and a lot of people didn't like the movie, and I get it. But if I don't know, I don't know if it's about shutting your brain off or what it is, but it's a turnoff even saying it to some people where the whole movie you're watching it and it's a computer screen. So it's like
Uh,
these people like kind of like what we're doing, but we're not looking at each other, but they do like video chats with each other. And throughout the movie, the group of friends that are on the video chat one by one start dying, and you can't see who's fucking killing them and shit like that. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. There's actually a sequel too, called Dark Web, I think, but I really
uh,
liked it. I don't know how keen you are on found footage or if you've really seen much found footage, but
kind of the same boat. Like if it's done well, I'm good with it.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just like because I know some it's just like no, those are just throwaway movies. I'm like okay, but not I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, and the one that's more mainstream, and I couldn't really pick one because I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I guess at the moment, now that I'm thinking about it, I do like some of the paranormal activity movies. I know, again, that's either hit or miss with some people, but
Yeah.
uh, Ghost Dimension is probably my favorite, but I do like two and three also. That also came out in the past 10 years. I think one other one did too, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
I get it because
Yeah.
basically it's a camera on people, but I don't know. Maybe that's like the psycho in me. Like I like that. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I can't explain it. Like that's just fascinating to me what other people are doing, even though I don't care. In like it, at the end of the day, I don't care. But if I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen? Like that's how my brain works. I don't know. I'm a weirdo.
Eh,
Uh, but I had a feeling those might be for you, not ones that you're a fan of. But at least you're cool with found footage movies. Like if they're good, they're good. Like if you
yeah.
like it, you like it. It's not like oh, it's found footage. Ugh.
Yeah. No,
Um,
with paranormal activity, it's more of the paranormal side of everything. It's
okay,
less about like the camera work and everything.
I see.
Those are hit or miss with me. It really depends.
Okay, not to get deep, but is that something, even in reality, you are more like, I don't believe any of that, or you haven't experienced anything or anything like that?
Um, I'm not really a big believer, and probably a lot of it because I haven't experienced it.
Right.
Like my family has, my dad
Okay.
has a million stories, and they're all obnoxious. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I've never. It's never done a whole lot for me.
Okay. And that makes sense if you haven't experienced anything, but would
Mhm.
you say, and you can be completely honest, I'm completely open-minded to it. Like,
Yeah.
you're not to the, what I get from what you said, I should say. You're not necessarily to the point like, oh no, that's bullshit and blah blah blah. I don't believe that. Is it more the other side of it where I haven't really experienced anything myself, so I can't say whether I believe or not. Is it more like that, or is it more
Um,
the first that I said?
uh, I'd say it's more of like, oh man, I've never really thought about it.
I'm making you think, Adam.
Oh no, it hurts.
It's so late. I'm sorry.
um, no, I don't know to be honest.
Okay.
Um, I can't really say one way or the other. Like, I haven't experienced it. I've never really thought too much about it. I guess I don't really care.
Okay. That's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Um, me personally, I probably am into stuff like that, like a paranormal activity thing. Not that those are real, but and call me crazy. Not that you would, but anybody listening, because some people are like that, like bullshit. That was because of this, or they try to debunk everything.
Mm,
I'm actually really into that stuff. But it's because throughout my whole life, I'm kind of, I don't want to say the word sensitive, but to it, but I've experienced a lot of things in my life. I don't know if they fucking hinge on me or what, but I've experienced good and bad things
yeah.
for my entire life. So I can't not believe it because of how real it's been for me. Like the first apartment I was ever in, that was like a bad like one. Like it sounds silly, it sounds crazy to some people, like, yeah, whatever, but I experienced some bad shit there. Like there was definitely a, a presence there, that, and it was a guy. I saw him multiple times. He I don't know if he understood that I was like that he was dead. Like he was taking it like I was in his house kind of thing.
No.
And he really didn't like that, and just things it's simple as like things falling or me hearing things like telling me to get out. And no, I'm not crazy. I've been tested, so to speak. But no, I'm into that stuff because I've experienced so much of it. So it's cool. Like
Yeah.
we have both sides of it, I guess. But at
Yeah.
least you're not completely dismissive of it.
No. No.
It's, that kind of bugs me, especially if somebody hasn't experienced it and they're completely dismissive of it, like bullshit, that doesn't exist. And it's like, well, you haven't experienced anything, so how do you know? Like that's
Hmm.
how I take it, but it's all a matter of opinion, you know. But that's cool. That's interesting. Um, I'll get back to the movie, so I stop blabbing again. The last one for the found footage that I could think of. Oh no, there's two, but was VHS. It was a anthology one. Some people
Hmm.
hate it. Some people. I like the first one, and then they just decline. Um, but that wasn't too bad. And the last one for found footage was I don't know if you call I don't know what you call it, but I actually really like the first Blair Witch, and they put out another one just called Blair Witch instead of Blair Witch Project.
Hmm.
Uh, I like I did like that one.
Now, was
But
that a remake or was it a continuation?
I feel like I think it was a continuation because I don't know if they marketed it as a remake. I don't remember. But
Mm.
once you watch the movie, they're talking about the people that were in the first movie like it already happened. So to me,
Okay.
that's a you know that's
Yeah.
what how I took it.
Yeah.
And then get into a couple Rob Zombie movies. Obviously, we have to. We're both Rob Zombie lovers. I know a lot of people hate Rob Zombie too. Just like throw him in with Quentin Tarantino and Eli Roth. Like I don't know why they're whipping boys, so to speak, but
Yeah.
Rob Zombie movies, and I don't give a fuck, and I don't apologize for it. But definitely 31 and Lords of
Oh.
Salem are ones. You've seen both of those?
Yeah, I loved 31,
Yeah,
and
nice.
Lords of Salem is one I have to rewatch because I went into it expecting a different movie, and,
Sure, it's his
and
most different movie, really.
yeah, I was figuring it would be more along his like brutal, gruesome, that kind of side, not the like psychological side of horror.
Right. Very atmospheric, and I
Yeah.
love stuff like that. So I think that's what helped me because when I went into it, um, I kind of expected the same thing, but thankfully it was like my brain clicked enough to where it was like, oh, this is not what it is. This is what it is. Like I even got like Italian vibes from it. Not the gore, not the acting, just the atmosphere. Because I love atmosphere in movies. Even if not a lot's happening, you just
Mm.
have that weird, like creepy, like claustrophobic feeling. I really like that.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely rewatch it. Maybe you never know. It could be one that you end up like, no, that one's just not for me, and that's cool too. Like
Yeah.
be you. Don't change you just because somebody likes it. A lot of people don't like it for the same reasons because it's that different.
Yeah.
Um, I should have put this with found footage, but I can't remember if it's fully found footage. But as above, so below. Do you remember hearing about that or know anything about that?
I do. It was the one in France in the catacombs.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah.
didn't get around to seeing it. It looked dark, but like it looked good. That's what I'm trying to
It's
say.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed it. It was another one that you could take either way. Like either
Mm.
you love it or you hate it, or you just think, yeah, it was all right. I thought it was really interesting, but again, I like that atmospheric, claustrophobic feeling where, like, because they're like you said, they're in like the catacombs and they're trying to find their way out, and I really liked it. Um, all right, I'm getting to the end of my list finally. So was there another one that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I have three more. So I'll do a couple.
Yeah.
um, so this one is kind of a weird one because uh, the original movie was a sci-fi. This one's kind of a horror film, more thriller, but it's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
That was later on in my list.
Oh,
Definitely, that was
nice.
the one with excuse me, John Goodman's in it, right?
Yep,
That one.
John Goodman
Yeah,
and Mary Elizabeth
that
Winstead.
was so good. Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
like he kidnaps him or something.
yeah, they're in like an underground shelter, and the whole the alien invasion from the first movie is happening
Right.
outside, but they don't really know what's going on, and she wakes up and she has no idea where she is.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really good.
yeah, such a good movie, and I didn't know if it really fell into horror, but it has that thriller side, so I'm gonna say it does.
I would give it a pass. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would. Yeah, it's like horror sci-fi,
yeah,
um, but more on the horror side really because the first one was more like sci-fi
yeah,
horror. Yeah.
sci-fi. And when the first one had the found footage too, going back to
That's true. Going back to
yeah.
that, I really like the first one too. I almost put it, and then I was like, no, that's too old. Did you like the first one?
I haven't seen the whole thing.
Okay. Like you said, definitely it's found footage, but
Mm.
in my opinion, it's one of the top ones that's done awesome.
Okay.
Um, did you? I don't know if you said you did or you not, but when I mentioned Blair Witch, do you know if you've seen Blair Witch Project? Because I know
Uh,
that's one or another with people.
yeah, I saw it. I think it came out what 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it then, and I
Uh,
remember bits and pieces. Like I remember the end of it very well, but that was it.
Yeah, I've seen it's kind of takes it as some people think it's stupid or some people take it like me where I like it just because again, it's that trapped atmospheric type feeling like and you don't see anything and like my brain always goes to like what if this was happening to me, you'd be
Yeah.
fucking freaking out. Um I love that movie. I loved it ever since it came out.
Mm.
The second one reboot, second one, whatever they want to call it. I don't find it as good. It's a mix of found footage and regular, but
Okay.
I don't like it as much. But if you ever feel up to it and just want to watch it again, I recommend it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to just pick it up.
Okay. And how many? I don't know how many. Did you say two already, or did you?
Um,
Do you want to
no.
say? Okay, go
The
ahead.
other one, and this one, I'm still on the fence of, but the special effects in it were awesome, and I found out a lot of it was um, it wasn't CGI; they were actual visual effects. But it's Overlord. It's
I saw
the
that recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I just saw it maybe a month ago. World War II movie, but they go into the a Nazi camp where they're doing experiments and people are coming back as like these mutated zombie-like creatures, and it's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool. The story itself is meh, but like I said, the effects
Yeah,
on it
that's how I
are
took it.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. The effects are the reason to watch it.
yeah, definitely. And the opening scene is it's D-Day with all the planes going over and everything, and just the first plane getting shot down. Like watching the behind the scenes of how they made that was awesome because they used real fire and they pulled the guys through the fire, and it just makes it that much more intense.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that much about the movie. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool. Yeah, definitely good pick. I actually didn't put that. I forgot about that one.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, not so much for the story. Like it was decent, but the visual side of it, like the wannabe filmmaker in me loved it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, well, that's cool. That's a one that I didn't think of. Was there anything else you wanted to say on it, or you kind of cover what you
Uh,
want to?
no, I think that pretty much covered it.
Okay. All right, then on to the next one. I'll try to get through this list without talking too much detail because we're getting up there. Uh, this next one will definitely be one that I'll talk about briefly because I know you'll want to see it if you haven't already. But it's called Deathgasm. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard the name, but I haven't watched it.
Okay, well, it's a cross between the second movie I'll say you might not know. It's a little bit more obscure, but it's a cross between, to me, Evil Dead, Trick or Treat, which is a movie from the 80s, not Trick or Treat, which came out a little while ago. But it's Trick or Treat. It's about a kid that's always picked on and he really likes metal, and one of his favorite artists ends up dying, and he comes through like this record that he recorded or something. Anyway, it has nothing to do with Deathgasm, but that kind of gave me that vibe with Trick or Treat, and definitely if you because you love metal, so
Yeah.
um, and definitely a little bit Lords of Chaos. But it's a really fun movie. It's about these two friends that form, or I think it's two main friends. Yeah, they form a band, and they get this like music that they whenever they play it, like all this evil shit type starts happening, almost like Evil Dead, and the more they do it, the more like the people in the town start turning into deadite type things, and it's a fun movie. It's called
Nice.
Death. It's called Deathgasm. The title makes me laugh, but it's called Deathgasm. Um, these last few I'll just skim. I'll just go through. Halloween 2018, of course. The remake of I Spit on Your Grave. The remake of Black Christmas. A lot of people hate it, but I didn't mind it. I like the original better. But as I said on the other podcast, you might like it better because it explains more about Billy.
Mm.
Uh, uh, Better Watch Out is a more recent movie because there's another movie, even though people know it as Christmas Evil, as I mentioned in another podcast, that is also called You Better Watch Out, but this is just called Better Watch Out. Um, that one was fun. A movie called Green Room. I think you'd like that. It's a horror movie set like in a club,
Hmm.
and um, I saw it so long ago, but I remember loving it. But yeah, I highly recommend that. It's called Green Room.
Yeah, I actually
Um,
have that one saved. It has
cool.
um I can't remember his name. Captain Picard.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. Hopefully
Yep.
somebody else will too. uh, I can't remember his name though. But yeah, that's a good one. That's a fun one.
Okay.
Um, your next. I like that one. Scream 4, and I only said that because it was the only Scream in the past decade. But I liked it. It wasn't as good as the
Yeah,
first one, but
I liked
uh,
it.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, it had a nice twist
Um,
and everything, and
yeah,
I can't even say twist. It had a good ending.
definitely.
Mm.
Um, let's see. There's a movie called Revenge that I believe is still on Shudder. If anybody wants to check it out, it's like a rape revenge type movie, but it's really good. I really liked it. There's there's one scene towards the end that's there's so much unnecessary blood that it's so unrealistic. Like somebody could not bleed that much blood and still be alive, but it's a movie, so I always know how to shut my brain off. Like, well, it's a movie. That's always my excuse. It's a movie. It's fine.
Yeah.
I hate people that do it. So, not hate people, but where people are like, I need movies to be realistic. And I'm like, well, you're missing out because there's a lot of good stuff. Texas Chainsaw 3D. I did like that one. I've never seen it in 3D, but that's the only way to describe it. That was one of them that kind of was tossed away and nobody really cared about it to a degree, but I liked it. It was one of my favorites out of the ones probably since the remake, really. Jigsaw was, I like Jigsaw. I'm not I like Saw movies, but they really got tiresome after a while, so I kind of just left them alone for a while. But Jigsaw to me is more to the at least I got the vibe out of it. Like it feels more like the first few movies as opposed to when they were just going through the motions. They kind of got back to that. One movie that's not 100% horror, but I think you'd really like it, and I wanted to mention it. It was called Voices, and it stars Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was a good look into mental illness.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like because he stops taking his medication, and then like his animals are talking to him,
and I don't know if you knew this. All the animal voices are Ryan Reynolds doing the voice.
I don't know if I knew that. Yay!
Yeah. Yep. So they even used that like against him, basically. I thought that was a cool little fact.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. I don't know. I don't think I knew that. That's cool. Had another fact that I didn't know, Adam. Good job. Yay!
Look at me go.
The next one is definitely a fucked up movie. Jeffrey Combs stars in it from Reanimator. It's called Would You Rather. I don't know if you've seen that, but
no, I know the name though.
Oh man, it's one of those fucked up things. Almost kind of a callback to when I mentioned Cheap Thrills, where it's just like this dinner party, and he invites all these people to his dinner party, and it's basically like, would you rather do this or that? And like one thing is more fucked up than the next. Like, would you rather do this or would you rather kill this guy, or would you rather cut off this or would you rather do this? It's crazy. But yeah, Jeffrey Combs stars in it. He's a psycho, but he's good at being a psycho. So
yeah.
Because you've seen Reanimator, right? Or you know what I'm talking about? Okay.
No, I've seen it. Yeah, I love Reanimator.
Oh, that's right. It was the sequels because you hadn't been able to get to the sequels yet.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. One fun thing I wanted to mention about it that I love seeing him randomly, because whenever he's in something else it's completely different, but Rob Wells is in it. He plays Ricky in Trailer Park Boys.
Oh.
But he's a completely like regular dude type character. He's Rob Wells, you see him randomly. He's also in what else was he in? He was in Hobo with a Shotgun. He was in the second I think it was the second Boondock Saints movie, but he has like no lines in Boondock Saints. But anyway, I like to mention that because I like him. And it comes to my next one. I'm sure you've heard of and maybe you've seen it and you're like, no, I don't get it. But my next one is definitely Hobo with a Shotgun. I don't know if you've seen that or heard about it.
I still haven't seen it. I've been told I have to, though.
It's so over the top. And like, a good example, the first time I saw it, I didn't know what to think. I had to watch it again.
Oh, jeez.
It's just so over the top and so weird, almost like Trauma-esque, but way more violent. Like, it's so not more violent. What am I saying? Traumas are ridiculous. But good example is oh man, I can't remember what it is that cuts off his head, but Rob Wells is in it as one of the kills, and he cuts out a hole somehow in a sewer cover, so his head's just peeking out, and he ends up cutting off his head with something. I can't remember what, but the hobo basically just kills like bad people, so to speak. It might take a couple viewings, but I recommend Hobo with a shotgun. It's so ridiculous. Um,
Yeah, I'm down.
nice. Um, and then let's see, I'm almost done. Okay. Final Destination 5. I love all those movies, but it was the only one of the last decade, so I had to put it in there.
Mm.
Mom and Dad. I don't know if you've heard about that one or seen it or anything. Nicolas Cage is in it. It's basically just about the parents end up going crazy and all they want to do is kill their children.
Oh,
It's crazy, but it's fun. And who better to do it than Nicolas Cage? Because Nicolas Cage is so amazingly out of his mind anyway.
yeah.
So I love Nicolas Cage. He's so great in that movie too, and it helps that he's like I said, it helps that he's that way. Friend Request is I think I might have mentioned that, maybe not. That was one. The remake of The Crazies. I don't know if you've even seen the original. It's more of an obscure George Romero one from the
Mm.
'70s. But the remake of The Crazies was pretty good. Uh,
Nice.
um, and yeah, that's about it. Other than like obvious ones, like there was a couple Chucky movies, Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky. I like those. There was an Amityville movie called The Awakening. Um, I like The Collector and The Collection movies. Collection came out in the past 10 years. That's the sequel to Collector.
Mm.
Um,
I
there's
remember
a
you
really
telling me
obscure.
about those.
Okay. There's a really obscure one, maybe not that obscure, but because of who's in it, you would think it'd be more upfront. But some people maybe didn't think it was great. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it was called Cell. It had John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson in it, and it was. I think it might have been. I could be wrong, but I think it might have been a Stephen King story. But it's a zombie outbreak, but because of cell phones.
Okay.
And I know it sounds a little whatever, but it's actually really good. I think. Um, I had to mention the Wrong Turn movies. 4, 5, 6 came out. I know that gets a little monotonous, but I like those movies. The remake of Mother's Day was fun. See No Evil 2 came out. That has also Danielle Harris. And my last one, you may have seen, and if you haven't seen it, it's totally up your alley, is Cooties.
Oh, somebody told me about this one.
Yeah, it's totally up your alley. Elijah Wood is in it, I believe. It's about like a zombie outbreak, but only kids
Mm.
that haven't started puberty yet. And it's because of this, like, it's deep, like, the reasons why it's his outbreak. It's because of this fermented chicken that ends up getting put in certain schools, like a school lunch program,
Oh.
and they turn into zombies because of it. But like I said, it's specific to the point of it has to be they're prepubescent and or either it was prepubescent or they just started. But I want to say it was before puberty. But anyway, that was a pretty crazy one. I think you'd like it. It's definitely a turn your brain off movie.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, other than that, those are my movies. I wanted to mention just a few documentaries that were really good. But before I do that, you said you had another movie you wanted to say.
Yeah, this is the last one that I had thought of. Um, so, and I've talked about this before, I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and I actually really like the remake, reimagining, whatever they call it.
Okay,
Uh,
I didn't put that, but
oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, it took the original and it made it that darker, grittier, like it's
Very
just
different, but yeah,
yeah,
in
it's
the same.
so different, but it's still along the same idea. And
Right, that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah, it was done really well. I was a big fan, and just like the little things, like the when she's in the basement and she just licks the razor blade, and you see her tongue just
Oh yeah, yeah,
split.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, it's so realistic and so brutal. Like, just
yeah.
that thought is horrible. I mean, I can't even bite my tongue without being upset for a week.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
but
man,
yeah, it was. I thought it was really good. I definitely liked it. And if
nice.
you're an Evil Dead fan, don't go into it expecting comedy.
No, not at all.
Go into it like straight up horror.
That's where people make a mistake because I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't like it, and I get it, and I initially liked it too, but yeah, it's its own thing. They changed a lot, but it's still on its own. I guess the best way, what I'm trying to say is, on its own merits, it's a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, good choice because I didn't put that on my list because I wasn't sure. Like, is that a favorite? Even though I had I could have because I had so many goddamn favorites. That's how my brain works. And believe it or not, with all those movies, that was still narrowing it down.
Oh,
Because there are some that I was like, do I love that much to put it on a list? But
I had a feeling you struggled with just those.
yeah, I know. Sorry.
No, don't be.
So if that was all you wanted to say on Evil Dead, was there anything else?
Um, oh, just a stupid fun fact, not stupid, but a fun fact that I saw.
Yeah.
The original Evil Dead, they used like somewhere between 200 to 300 gallons of blood in the movie,
Yeah.
and in this one, it was reported that they used 70,000 gallons of fake blood. So the
Wow.
final scene, like it's cool, but I won't give it away. They use 50,000 gallons alone. So
That's
I thought,
interesting because I want to find out how many. Go ahead. What were you saying? Sorry.
no, that was it. I just thought that was a cool little crazy fact.
I think I knew, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I wonder how many it was in It Chapter 2 because there's a scene in It Chapter 2 that says they used the most blood in any movie ever. So if they used that much in that Evil Dead movie, how the fuck many gallons was it in that scene?
Oh
That's
man,
interesting. I'll have
I'm
to look that up. But yeah, that's a cool choice. I didn't, like I said, I thought of it, but I wasn't sure. But
yeah,
cool. I'm glad you chose it because I wasn't sure how you felt about it
yeah.
actually because I don't think we've really talked about it.
No, I don't think we have. I was living in Florida when it came out, and I remember going to the theater by myself, and I was just so pumped for it, and I left pretty happy.
Nice. That's cool. I didn't end up seeing it in the theater, but I,
Mm.
I think I just bought it.
Oh, nice.
Just yeah. Do you know about the end scene, like the end credit scene? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, after the credits and everything, it's
That's
like
all it is.
a
Roofie.
random little nod.
But it's so worth waiting for.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just Bruce Campbell, groovy.
And he has nothing to do with this one.
I don't even know if I remember if I knew about it or if I just waited because at that time it wasn't like a giant thing. Like because of superhero movies, I wait now just in any movie just in
Yeah,
case. But at that time, I don't think I did. I don't know why I waited, but I'm glad I did.
yeah. I think I had nothing to do, so I just stuck around.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a
Yeah,
big. Sometimes I'm a big credits guy unless the family wants to leave. Like if I go with myself, I'll just watch the credits. You never know. But that's cool. I'm glad you had some titles, and I bombarded you with more shit that you probably want to watch. But
oh man, I'm good with that. Like I said, this podcast is gonna help me get it together.
definitely. Sorry it ran so long. I know you gotta go to bed. I only have one quick thing, and then I was gonna list some favorite albums, but I'll try not to make that as long, and I won't even. I'll just list them. I'm not even gonna go into it.
Okay.
Um,
And I wrote like three down, so that works.
okay. Cool. Perfect. But the last thing I wanted to mention movie wise is I definitely wanted to include some horror related documentaries.
Okay.
Um, there is a documentary that I believe I mentioned on a previous podcast, just simply called De Palma. It's about Brian De Palma. I'm a giant Brian De Palma fan. He directed Carrie and Blowout with John Travolta and Sisters. I mentioned on the Black Christmas podcast that also had Margot Kidder on it. He's done. I'm a huge fan, but he has a great documentary that came out this year called De Palma. I believe it came out this year. If anybody wants to correct me, could have been the end of last year, but I saw it this year. Um, to Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. That might be my favorite, other than one other one. That was so great and funny and real and emotional, and it was just as good as his book. Um,
Oh, nice.
oh man, that was so good. I even specially pre-ordered that one. Um, there was one called King Cohen. It was about Larry Cohen. He did the It's Alive movies, and he did a movie called Q. He did a lot of like crime movies, and but I was a big fan of him. He actually, thankfully, I was very very thankful because pretty much they finished that documentary. It was out for like a few months, maybe 6, and he passed away. So that was sad.
Oh.
But I'm glad he was able to finish the documentary. Um, and I believe it was in the last 10 years. This one I didn't actually check, but there's a Nightmare on Elm Street documentary that you definitely should check out, especially after you watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies again. That was really cool. It's called Never Sleep Again. The Tom Savini one I mentioned in the last podcast, but I got to mention it again because it's that good. Smoke and Mirrors. My absolute favorite one that, again, I believe is this year. If it's the end of last year, forgive me. But Crystal Lake Memories is a 7-hour documentary on each individual Friday the 13th movie. Like each movie gets like 45, 50 minutes. It is a Friday the 13th fan like me's wet dream. That's it is so good. And I even made it worse because maybe it's not 7 hours. Maybe I'm thinking it's 7 hours because I pre-ordered it and got another disc that has another like couple hours on it. But yeah, I'm obsessed, to say the least, as you know, with Friday the 13th. So
yeah, you're a fan.
You can still get that Crystal Lake Memories retail-y, I believe, without that bonus disc, but I would seek it out if it doesn't cost too much if you're that big of a Friday the 13th fan. So yeah, that was it for my movies. I said a lot, but I think we did good. We talked about your few, and sorry it was a little longer than normal, but end of the year, end of decade, I guess that'll happen.
Yeah, we got to go out on a bang, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or go out with a bang.
Yeah, I know what you meant. So now, anybody that's listening that, and because I wanted to mention this because some people aren't exactly the same as say we are with heavier music, and they like horror movies. If you want, you can stop listening now because we're just going to mention some of our favorite albums of the last decade. I got quite a few, but again, I'm just gonna plow through them. I'm not even gonna talk about them just because we're running a little long. Because I figured, it's getting late and you gotta go to bed. So
yeah, well, and I have 3.
Right. Okay. So this is in absolutely no order. Again, I'm gonna plow through it. Some people are gonna be like, is this the same person saying these favorite ones? But you know me. I'm so open-minded that, yes, I like heavy music, and that's my favorite style of music, but I like all kinds of music. Granted, I didn't branch out too much, but there's rock in here. There's metalcore. There's hardcore. There's it's kind of all over the map with like rock or metal, basically. There's death metal in there, of course, but I know you're not too keen on that, but I got some in there.
No, I actually, I've opened up into death metal a lot more.
Whoa!
I know, and you surprised me because you said metalcore.
I know, but you remember, I have a different take on metalcore than I know what Adam metalcore means, and I know what metalcore means. Like, I look at metalcore more like a Kill Switch style metalcore, and your metalcore is more like August Burns Red, which makes sense. Yeah, I get that. Speaking of August Burns Red, I surprisingly didn't put any in there, but pick any one from the past 10 years. They're all great. There was one that I couldn't choose. That's why it's not in here. However, there will be one in here that I couldn't choose, and you'll understand why. So, if you're ready, I'm just going to reel them off. Anybody that doesn't care about this stuff, thank you for listening. I'm just going to reel off my favorite albums of the past 10 years. So here goes. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Let's do it.
Some of them are going to be obvious. Some of them are going to be whatever. But you know me. Ice Nine Kills The Silver Scream is my favorite album of the past few years, and you know that because that's all I do is post about it. Horror and metal, yes, please. Anyway, okay. Vanna, Void. They have a lot of good albums that I really like. That's kind of like my metalcore. But that's my favorite album. I even have it tattooed on my fingers. Anyway, Every Time I Die, Low Teens. That was a hard one. There's quite a few of theirs in the past 10 years. Slipknot. What?
Oh, just saying, ooh.
Yeah. I know that was hard, too, because, E-Tid, bitch. Remember that? I even have that tattooed on my fingers. Anyway, not E-Tid, bitch, but E-Tid. Slipknot was a little hard, but they would only have a couple in the past 10 years. I actually picked Chapter 5, the Gray Chapter, over the new one. I do like the new one, but I
Okay.
think I like 5 more.
Oh, see, and
Um,
I had a hard
there
time.
you,
I love the. I actually have the new one on there, and I'm a huge fan of Point Five. I can't. I don't know.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I said chapter, but yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
you know how I am with Slipknot, so that was hard.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 albums, but it's like, but it's Slipknot. It's hard. Um. Anyway, all right. I said I was gonna plow through. Let's try this. Motionless in White, Graveyard Shift, Slayer, Repentless. That was fucking hard to do because they have like a few albums of the past 10 years. Aborted. That's getting into the more death metal side. That was really hard, but I begrudgingly went with their album Retrogore. The Acacia Strain, another hard one, but
Oh,
overall. Overall, for me, I don't know about you, but it's probably Grave Bloom. That's my favorite one. I know it's their most recent
such a
one,
good
but
album.
so hard. But that's the one I find that I still listen to all the way through, and I don't think of certain tracks to skip to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, because close second for me would be what is it? Death is the Only Mortal. Is that what it's called? Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Uh, I love that one because I mean it has my favorite Acacia Strain song on it. So duh, the Mouth of the River is still my favorite Acacia Strain
It's so good.
And I'm going to be all over the place. Like I said, Seven Dust, All I See Is War, Wednesday
Okay.
13, Condolences. If anybody likes horror movies, obviously, if you're listening to this, you like horror movies. But if you like metal, punk, anything, and you don't know anything about Wednesday 13, fucking go check it out. You might not even know that you know about Wednesday 13 because a lot of people know about Murder Dolls. He's a singer of Murder Dolls. He wrote all those songs from previous bands. Yeah. So anyway, Wednesday 13, Condolences, Amity Affliction, Let the Ocean Take Me. I know you weren't too keen on that band, but you've still seen them and you appreciate it for what it is, but it's not for you, if I remember right. But
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
okay, I summed that up then. Thy Art Is Murder, super hard, but if I have to do it, it's fucking Hate. I love Hate. It may be cliche.
Ah,
It's their. Ugh.
it's such a good album. I accept.
I'm gonna be seeing them again at the Palladium. Unfortunately, it's upstairs, but they're playing with Fit for an Autopsy and another band called Enterprise Earth.
Oh
That are
yeah.
all similar. I don't know which. Oh yeah, did you say for Enterprise Earth or not?
Both actually.
Really?
Autopsy, I'm definitely into. Enterprise Earth, I'm getting into them.
Yes. I have listened to Fit for an Autopsy since they had nothing but a free demo, and I fucking love that band. They're going to be playing with Thy Art Is Murder and Enterprise Earth. I just checked out Enterprise Earth recently. It's going to be a great show, but it's going to be upstairs for some reason. But whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's weird. Anybody that doesn't know the Palladium, the upstairs is basically a bar, and it's tiny.
Yeah, definitely, and it's good to mention too. We mean Palladium in Worcester, Mass, because there's a lot of places called the Palladium, ironically.
Yeah, down in
But
Worcester.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, some people may say that's cliche with Hate, but I can't help it.
No,
Uh,
it's good.
yeah. Black Dahlia Murder, Ever Black. That was hard for me too. I really like Black Dahlia Murder. Broken Hope, more death metal. Omen of Disease. It was cool when they when Jeremy Wagner, he's like the driving force of that band now. He was an original member. I think he formed the band actually. Came back with that album, just brutal. Like again, horror, death metal. Sign me up. Um, a little hardcore, Bury Your Dead, Mosh and Roll. When Matt first came back, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
Didn't we? You were with me. You brought me to that metal fest, right? Wasn't
yeah,
it? With oh yes,
yep. And you're on. Oh no, never mind.
different show.
It
Oh, you
was a
think?
different show. There was a
uh,
DVD that they did, and that was with Mike as the lead singer. But you're on that DVD.
Really?
Yeah, it was the one where
I,
everybody was at the merch table, and you're just yelling "Bury Your Dead."
okay. I've been
Yep.
on actually not to sound like modest or anything, but I've been on a few DVDs. I don't remember what one you're talking about. I, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I was just yelling "Bury Your Dead" at the merch table. Okay.
Yeah, it was like a whole group of guys, and yeah,
Okay. I think so. Was it a Metal Fest DVD or no? Or was it Bury Your
uh,
Dead DVD?
No, I think it was the Bury Your Dead DVD because it was with. I want to say it was either like Pedal to the Metal or Thrash and Burn. It was one of the.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember now. Yeah, because we went and I was like, I don't know about this because I'm not a huge fan of in between Bury Your Dead as I call it. But yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Okay, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
All right, back to more deathy type stuff. Carnifex. I love Carnifex. I don't know if you're too keen on that. I don't know if that's too much death metal, but again, like you said, you've been more open.
Yeah, no, actually, you kind of pushed me towards them.
Nice. I love everything they've done, but Die Without Hope is still one of my favorite albums of all time. Forget the past 10 years of all time.
Wow.
Amazing. I can throw it on any fucking time, and it's from front to back one of those albums. Um, Cannibal Corpse. I know we've seen him. Well, I saw him, and you were with me, but you were waiting in line. You're not too keen on Cannibal Corpse, but I just saw him recently, and I liked him as a kid. And then I, unfortunately, along with Slayer, got a little brainwashed with religion. I'm not going to bring religion into the podcast, but that's kind of what I chalk it up to. Where, oh, maybe this isn't okay, and things like that. And I was young, so I was easily influenced to whatever.
Mm.
Thankfully, I met Brian to the point where it's like not that he tries to force it on you, but I also, for myself, got to the certain age of I thankfully I think for myself. In other words,
Yeah.
I'm like, I missed so much time. Why did I get out of these bands or whatever? But I full throttle got back into Cannibal Corpse. But that was a hard one for me because they release albums pretty regularly every 2-3 years. But their newest album, Red Before Black, is probably my favorite of the past 10 years, which is hard because I really like another album called Torture. Again, horror, death metal. Sign me. Hashtag. Anyway, completely different on that subject. A Day to Remember, What Separates Me From You. I still love that band. It's mine and my wife's favorite band. Or mine and my wife's favorite band. It's her favorite band. You know, we saw them with you. I know you weren't too keen on them, but because you went for August Burns Red, but I just saw them again recently, and I love that band so much.
Yeah, and I like them. I just not everything by them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was actually really excited when I picked A Day to Remember because I knew I had to pick a release. And What Separates Me From You is actually my favorite album of theirs, and it just barely met the cusp because it came out in 2010.
Nice.
Okay. I gotta get through. I gotta try to get through these. Sorry, buddy. Death Angel, A Dream Calls for Blood. They are a old thrash band that ended up coming back in the early 2000s. Love that band.
Okay.
Fit for an Autopsy, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
That was so fucking hard because their new album is amazing. It's so good. But I had to go with my favorite of Absolute Hope, Absolute Hate. Great fucking album. I believe it's the first album they did with their current singer Joe, because they had an old singer that used to be in Through the Eyes of the Dead, and he lasted longer than I thought he would. Not saying anything bad about him, but he's one that has been in and out of bands. But I can't wait to see them again with Die Hard as Murder. That's a really good pairing.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of that one.
Well, keep an eye on the dates. There might be some that come your way.
Yeah, that's true.
It's in March.
Okay.
Let's see. A little bit of hardcore. The Ghosts Inside, Get What You Give. That was really hard. That's more later of theirs, but that's really good. A more obscure one that I've been just fucking repping the shit out of because I fucking love that band. It's just one of those in-your-face angry hardcore bands, but called Great American Ghost.
Don't know if I mentioned. List.
They're definitely one of those bands. I just want to forget punching other people. Like it gets to the Slipknot point, I'm gonna punch myself.
And for anybody listening, that's not a joke.
Yeah, I turn into a different person when I see certain bands. Adam can attest to that. I don't know what happens. It's like I'm obsessed, and I'm not trying to be cool. I'm not trying to be funny. No, I don't know.
He's just enjoying it.
It's almost like a blackout, or like it's almost like a blackout when I'm drunk. When like you're drunk and you know what you've heard of that anyway. Not to the point where I forget everything. I remember everything. But something comes over me. But they're one of those bands. But yeah, I had to mention that. I didn't say the album title. Hatred Stems from the Seed. Yep. Either one of their albums. They have another album coming out on in February. But that's my favorite album. Like that's definitely one I can throw on. I know every fucking word, every fucking song.
Yeah.
But their first album is good too.
I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to it already.
Oh, so you know? Okay, I thought you
Yeah.
said
Oh
it was
yeah.
on. Oh, nice.
It
Oh,
was on my list of my top for the decade.
oh, okay. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. What's the first one called? I think it's called like Everyone Leaves. Even that one is just like, ah! But Hatred Stems from the Sea. Oh man.
Oh, it's so good. Just the opening, the whole thing. If anybody even is interested in metal, check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, get in anything else you wanted to say about it if there was, just because it was on your list. I don't want to step on any toes.
No, I mean you covered it. It's amazing. It's just good hardcore. And I haven't been hearing a ton of great hardcore, and it filled that void.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If you like that in your face, just I don't want to say hateful shit, but that's that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
that's what it is. You can feel his disdain for humanity. But that's cool that that was on yours. Sorry to take one away. Well, I didn't take one away. You said what you wanted to say, so that's cool. Um, a few that probably, hopefully, won't be on your list. I'm sure the next few, but Chelsea Grin, I really like Chelsea Grin. I not it too into new Chelsea Grin, and it's not because of what it sounds like. Because if they were a different band, I would like it. I'm not going into that, but I really like older Chelsea Grin pre their new album, back with the original singer who formed the band.
I didn't
That was
realize I got a new singer.
Yeah, they got a new singer. I like I said, I don't really want to go into it, but he had ended up having to go into rehab,
Uh,
and it's his fucking band. This is what gets me. It's his band. He formed it, but somehow they ended up pretty much. And I know if somebody's listened to this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, don't talk shit that you don't know what you're talking about." This is what it made me feel like. It was almost like he had to deal with his own shit, so he was kind of nudged out of the band so they could finish the album. They probably deny that. I don't want to get into it because I don't
yeah.
know details, but I really I really miss him. That's the Chelsea Grin I like, but it was self-inflicted is the one I pick. I know it's not one of their old like deathcore ones, but it's one of his later ones. One that I know is not your list because it's not the kind of music that you like. It's the metalcore you'll probably be like, and then some listeners will be like, ugh. But again, I listen to whatever the fuck I want to listen to, and I like
Yeah.
what I like. It's Asking Alexandria from Death to Destiny. I don't like everything of theirs. Yes, they're a girlier band, but that's a fucking great album, and I don't care.
I'm just gonna be quiet.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be whatever. I'm just kidding. My next one goes right with Asking Alexandria. Danny Worsnip's the singer. He did a solo album called The Road Home.
Hmm.
It's actually, and I know this will be the most out of the ordinary one but hey, the older I get, the more open I get with music. And my wife, when I met her, she's super into like different country stuff. I don't have any country on here, but this is the closest thing. He did an album called The Long Road Home, and it's amazing. It's good. It's good drinking music, I guess, for people who like those kind of things. And it's not heavy or anything, but it's a great album, in my opinion. And then a little bit more death metal, Cattle Decapitation. That was a hard one. Monolith of Inhumanity. Coal Chamber Rivals. That was a good one. That was
Oh
out of
yeah.
the blue. We didn't expect to get another Coal Chamber, that's for sure.
And I never thought I'd get to see him live. So that was amazing all around.
And as I told you at that time, I have seen them so many times, and that was the best fucking time that I ever seen it. So you
Yeah.
got the best show that you ever could have got.
Ah,
All right. Let's see, Coal Chamber. Korn's not their newest album, even though I'd really like the Nothing. Their album before that is so old Korn to me, The Serenity of Suffering. I love that album. I don't know if you've heard much of it, and I know you like Korn, so
yeah. No, I actually haven't. I even their new album, I've only heard a little bit. I'm behind on them.
yeah. Jonathan's been through a lot of shit. His ex-wife died, and the last album, The Nothing, he basically just told the band to just leave him alone, and he just shut himself off. And you know how emotional Jonathan can get. This is the most emotional he's been since Daddy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's intense, but that's not the one I picked. That would be in my favorite albums of this year. But over that, I would say The Serenity of Suffering is the one I would recommend, especially to you liking Korn. You like old school Corn, you like all over Corn, Serenity
Mm.
of Suffering. Um, like Moss of Flames, I can't believe I'm picking this because I love that band so much. They're one of my favorite newer bands, but their last album, Dark Divide, for me beats out all their other albums. I listen to it the most. Their
Oh
other
wow.
albums are more heavy, but their newer one is he sings like a lot throughout it, but I don't know, it hits me. Um, there's a very obscure band that I saw earlier in the year called Low Water, not two words, Low Water. They put out an album called Voodoo. They have a few albums. They're like a rock band, but like with the like '90s sound. So
Okay.
good, like them. I don't know how much you like. Well, you branch out a little bit with rock and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's just hair metal's like the one that I
Right.
can't.
It's the higher.
Yeah.
Right. But Low Water, I think you'd like them. They're like I don't know if you know many of those, but like a Silver Chair or oh man, Pearl Jam, like kind of like like I don't want to say Pearl Jam, but
Mm.
it's like that '90s rock. It's really good. I really
Okay.
like it.
Like almost
Um,
grungy kind of.
Almost, yeah, but more with like it's like '90s rock with a tinge of grunge. That's a good
Okay.
way to put it. Um, and then back to the more deathy type stuff. I know it's deathcore, but Oceano, fucking love Oceano. Um, the one that, and ironically, my favorite album of theirs is one they don't give a lot of um, like light on. Is called Incisions. Completely out of left field because I just said something like Oceano. I like all over the place. Papa Roach, their album Fear, great album. It wouldn't be my favorite of theirs overall because my favorite album of this year is their newest album. Who Do You Trust? But I know a lot of people, if people are still listening, they're probably like dead air, like, what is he talking about? But I like all types of music. I'm not apologetic for it.
Yeah.
Stain, their self-titled album just barely made it. That's the last album they put out. I fucking love Stain. Stain, I grew up with Stain, and they've helped me through a lot of stuff, and I love that band. Um, Stone Sour Audio Secrecy again made the cut by 2010. Um, love Stone Sour, obviously. Corey Taylor, it's his other band. It's I know more people like you. I'm sure you like Slipknot more, but I
Hmm.
love both bands. But obviously Slipknot's like my favorite band. But
Yeah.
uh, wife loves Stone Sour. It's one of our bands for sure. I love Stone Sour. Anyway, Suicide Silence, Black Crown, that had to go on there. I'm sorry if it was on your list. Hopefully
No, it
not.
actually wasn't. It's such a good album though.
And, the end of an era too. That was
Yeah.
so Mitch's last album, and it just hasn't been the same since. I like it, but you know what I mean. Like it
Yeah.
hasn't been the same since Mitch.
Yeah.
Um,
My friend and I were actually just talking about that the other night.
mm.
So.
I like all three of the albums they did with him. Well, four if you count the EP, but Black Crown's probably I think their best.
Mm.
Got to put Stick to Your Guns in there. That's another one of those bands that when you saw them with me, you're like, wow, that was Slipknot intensity. I was like, it was nice. I wasn't
Yeah.
even trying. Like, really. I'm gonna see them again with different lineup. They're playing with Beartooth, Emotionless, and White in
Oh,
January.
that's
That's my
kind of a
next show.
weird combo, but I'm down for that.
It's a weird combo, but I like it.
Yeah.
All three bands, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
My next one's very hard, and I couldn't just pick one, and I'm gonna be that guy. But this the three sworn ins that had a Tyler on it.
Yes.
Um, Death Card, Lover's the Devil, All Smiles. I can't pick. Most people say Death Card, and I was gonna go with that, and I was just gonna do that, but I love that fucking band so much, and it's not even the same anymore. But at least we have those three albums.
Yeah. I haven't even heard the new stuff without him.
It it's good. It's not great. It's kind of like old stuff because the guy who was I think he was like a guitar player or bass player. He was originally the singer,
Mhm.
and or he was a singer at one point because they did an EP called Start End. Um, but I heard one new song, and you know me with simple shit. I've told you that
Yeah.
it's like mind-numbingly simple. I can't. It's not great. It still sounds like Sworn In, so maybe that's something. But it's not the same without Tyler. He's what made the band for me.
Yeah.
He was just so out of his mind, and you could just feel his like just he was just like he's just a sad dude and like an angry dude, and like you mix all that into one, and you have three amazing albums that I can't pick from.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. I am on the last paper. Good, because I actually wrote these down old school. Um, Kill Switch Engage, that was a little hard, but Disarm the Descent is probably my favorite out of the more current ones with Jesse. Um, this one is, again, I have no apologies about it. I don't care. And I'm not saying this necessarily to you because you know I like this band and you like this band, but you know the hatred there is for Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah.
It's almost become a thing. I'm not saying everybody that's listening is like, oh, like it's almost become the cool thing to do is hate Five Finger Death Punch because Ivan Moody's like whatever, or just it's the girl metal band or whatever. I don't give a shit. I like what I like, and American Capitalist I put on there because I love that album.
Nice.
But I remember you like Five Finger still, right?
I actually haven't listened to them in like a few albums.
Okay, but you still you remember liking them, I guess I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I still the first three I love.
Yeah, you haven't gone over to that side like, oh, I hate them because
yeah.
We'll be seeing them too with an interesting lineup in earlier in the year, like a spring tour. It's Five Finger Death Punch, Papa Roach, and I Prevail and Ice Nine Kills. Another interesting lineup.
Yeah.
Get into a little bit more hardcore. Terror, Keepers of the Faith.
Oh, such a good album.
I couldn't pick, but Keepers of the Faith is probably my favorite of the past 10 years of theirs. A bit of more obscure, like a emotional type hardcore band. They're called Ghost Key. I saw them on Vanna's last tour, not their last show, but their last tour, called Ghost Key. Their album that was called If I Don't Make It, that's a really good one. I really like the Used Vulnerable, that was a good one. Completely out of left field, but hey, Green Day used to be one of my favorite bands. They put out Revolution Radio a couple of years ago. It's a great fun like poppy punk album, love it. I'll even throw in old school. Aerosmith put out an album called Music from Another Dimension, loved it. And then I'll get more obvious ones like I think actually, did I mention Coal Chamber?
Yeah, Rivals.
Okay, so I put that accidentally twice, so I really must have meant it. Hatebreed, Divinity of Purpose, another one that was kind of hard to pick from. For Hatebreed. Devil Driver, Beast, that was a little hard, but probably not. That was the last of like that lineup, so I really like that. And the DVD is fucking great on that one. That was so good. More death metal, Dying Fetus, Wrong One to Fuck With, Bleeding Through, Love Will Kill Us. What is it called? Love Will Kill Us All, I think it's called. Bring Me the Horizon. I know, another band. Oh, good. Don't care. Sepulturnal. I'm not really into their newer stuff, and believe me, Sepulturnal is when they started churning poppy. I like them more when they were heavy, but Sepulturnal, like that middle ground. Even old school, as I was growing up, it's not that old school, but Deftones, Diamond Eyes, I really like that one. I don't know if you're really into something like Deftones, but
yeah,
cool. And I only have a couple more. So if you said you still had one, or did you already say that?
I have a couple, but okay, it's funny because you said them.
Go ahead though.
Yeah. Every Time I Die, Low Teens.
Nice. That was a hard one too because they put out some good ones in the past.
But that one for me, like I can listen to it like I guess cover to cover.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Close was X Lives. I really like X Lives too.
Yeah.
That was in the past 10 years, but Low Teens might be up there with one of possibly their best album.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to say that because I love his older albums. Like I love Gutter Phenomenon and I love
New Black.
Yeah, with Gutter Phenomenon. But there's one of my favorite ones. I can't think of the title, but anyway, go ahead. What was the other one that I unfortunately mentioned for you?
Oh well, we talked about Great American Ghost. Love them.
Oh man, yes. Yeah. So then, my other one, I wanted to mention that real quick. New Junk Aesthetic from Every Time I Die. So fucking overrated. So fucking good. That one with the weird cover with the guy that can see through his hands, the Jordan Drew. You know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah, yeah, yep. I have that one.
It's a great one. Wasn't in the past 10 years because if it was, that would actually have been over low teens. But low teens is great.
Hmm.
Um, but my last three are more grindy death metal, exhumed, and ironically, as I was talking about death metal and like that type of stuff with horror, it's called horror, so sign me up. Um, and then some old school thrash, Municipal Waste, of course. I mean, shout out to not that he probably would hear this, but Ryan from Municipal Waste. We've come to know each other quite well. I see him whenever I can. We trade I trade some tapes to him for some merch and stuff, and we just have fun hanging because he's really into VHS tapes. And then my last one, which I went back and forth with a little bit, is the Last Emir. Look at yourself.
Mm.
Um, I really like some of the other ones, and I really didn't like one of them, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
Speaker of the Dead. I think it was Speaker of the Dead.
Yeah,
That's how
Speaker
much
of the
I
Dead.
remember. That, but look at yourself. I really, really liked it. Have you heard much of? Yeah, you've heard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that fucking new lineup is on fire.
Oh, it's amazing. I got to see them at Come and Take It Live here, which is just like it's like a small venue, a big bar basically,
Yeah.
and just the whole place was vibrating. It was so good. Um, it was such a bummer the old band all flipped, but it was such a good turnout too. Like they're awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's essentially Frankie's band now, but
Yeah,
whatever. He's the main one I liked anyway. So
yeah,
I'll keep his hatred and his he just no one sounds like him. Like
no,
that band that some people hate, but I don't give a shit. Like in the words of Frankie, I don't give a shit. Like on that song "Hate It," like he doesn't give a shit. And good for you. Um, but yeah, if there wasn't anything else you might want to mention, this was the longest one so far. But sorry it's a little late, but I think we had some fun with it. Sorry I went
yeah,
on a
definitely.
bit with my list, but it was hard for me. I like so damn much.
Yeah, no, it was good. I am glad though, because you and I were texting and we decided to not do uh yep, the movie this week.
Oh yeah,
Living.
yeah, Return of the Living Dead. That's a good plug, I guess. Our
Yeah.
next episode, as far as if we're in agreement, is going to be definitely be Return of the Living Dead. See, I'm saying night too. Return of the Living Dead, because we figured we're going to be talking a lot about this, and I thank you because I initially had it as an idea of yeah we could just do this quick thing about and then 2.5 hours later, we're like, that's not really a quick thing. This should be an episode. Not that you said 2.5 hours, but you're like, that should probably be an episode because Return of the Living Dead deserves its own episode. So thank you
Yeah.
for pointing that out. Like, I was like, yeah, you're right.
When I thought about it, I was like, I know you, and I know that you're gonna get excited, and it's just gonna be like a 4 hour episode altogether. It's like let's do this right.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be. I'd love it.
Um, but all right. I guess we'll leave it at that. If anybody's still listening, because as I said, this is going to be music related. If you're not here for that, um, I I wanted to seriously quickly mention because we're that far into time. I didn't mention my favorite albums of this year. I have more, but I'm just going to say my top five is five is the new Fit for an Autopsy, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. Great fucking album. I mentioned Fit for an Autopsy on there as well. I know you're into them, so definitely check that out. Four, the new Corn, The Nothing. If you love Corn, then yeah.
Yeah.
Um, this one's gonna surprise you. Slipknot is number three.
Wow.
The ones above it, some people are gonna be like, "What? I can't help what I love. I just
Yeah.
can't do it." Three, Slipknot. We are not your kind. Absolutely amazing. They're always my number one, and my number two and one are just yeah. I can't believe I'm even gonna say it, but I had fun with it. I'm getting older and I'm just having fun. Number two is the new Papa Roach called Who Do You Trust? I think it probably is because it's turned into a family thing. So we just have fun with it. We brought Ed to see Papa Roach for this year, and it's one of his favorite bands, so we had fun with that. And
Mm.
believe it or not, my favorite album of this year, and so many people, again, I'm unapologetic, are going to be like, I guess, over Slipknot, is the new Motionless in White called Skies. I've always liked Motionless in White, but this
Yeah.
fucking album for me that I'm like, they're one of my favorite bands.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember we saw them and you're like, yeah, these guys are good, but they're not like top tier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were starting to click for me with their last more. And I'm not saying like I wasn't buying every album because you know me, I'm gonna keep trying.
Yeah.
That I know something's there, but their last album was so close. But and I was like, how are they gonna top this because of how much I liked it? Because I mentioned it in my favorite of the past decade. But yep, that's it. I feel really weird saying that, but I got to be honest with myself.
Yeah.
It's not Slipknot's into my top five, but
That's awesome. I'm surprised.
yeah, I know. I'm surprised too. I can't. I'm without words because I wrote it, and even when I wrote it, I was like, really? But that's it.
Are
Yeah.
you sure?
Yeah. I'm still not sure. I'm gonna be fighting with myself in the next podcast. I'm like, I didn't mean it.
They're
Um,
number 2.
Yeah. Um, I don't think we mentioned that, but before we get off, was there any that you absolutely love this year?
Um, I'm sure there was, but at this point, I can't think.
Well, you mentioned Slipknot, obviously.
Yeah,
Slipknot's
Slipknot was great. It definitely was such a good album. Um, like I said with Korn, I've only listened to maybe half of it, and it's not because I don't like it. I don't
right,
know.
right.
I keep getting like sidetracked with it.
Sure.
Yeah, and I got to see him this year too, so that was great.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah,
Always a good
uh,
time seeing them.
yeah, every time. Um,
Yeah, they were my favorite band as a teenager, and I got out of them a little bit, and you actually helped me get back into them because you're like, no, there's some good stuff, and I checked it out because it's not that I didn't give it a chance, like didn't want to give it a chance. I just kind of strayed away a bit, but
yeah,
it was like there were certain songs like "Bitch, You Got a Problem" and stuff like that because I thought that was funny and that
yeah.
helped me back into it. But yeah,
Nice.
Serenity of Suffering. If you buy any corn, next corn you buy the Serenity of Suffering. That's the one I highly recommend.
Right on.
Um, but all right, this has been our longest podcast, and I guess we
Yeah.
can sign off now. I will kind of sneak in there that I didn't sneak because it wasn't a full album, but I have to sneak in some Bury Dead. Bury Dead put out an EP this year called We Are Bury Your Dead. Fucking amazing. Unfortunately, it's hard to get it physically because you had to pre-order it with all this digital shit. But that was great, and so was
Yeah.
the new Cattle Decapitation, Death Atlas. But those were in my top five. They'd be in the top 10, but I'll stop rambling. But I had to
Well,
mention Bury Your Dead.
with Bury Your Dead, there was a hiccup with my pre-order, and my shirt and CD never showed, and I got a hold of them, and they fixed it right away. They didn't even ask any questions. They sent
Oh,
me
good.
one, and that was it. So
Okay,
within,
did you get the CD though?
yeah, yep,
Oh, good, because those weren't even those weren't even it was physical packaging, but it was a burned CD. I don't know if you've looked at it, but that's how limited it is.
yeah.
But it's a great EP. It's Bury Your Fucking Dead for sure. But I hope you like it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, all right. If there isn't anything else you want to mention, I'll stop rambling on as I keep saying that. But if you're good, we can sign off.
Yeah, no, just anybody that's listening, definitely subscribe, like,
Yeah, please.
add a comment. Let us know you're listening, even if you guys just say hi.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Definitely do that.
it's fun. I saw somebody commented on our first episode, and that made me feel good.
Right,
So,
definitely. Cool.
yeah.
Um,
So
I am on all the social medias. I can't remember my exact things, so that doesn't help. But I'm on Facebook. I think on Facebook it's just my name, Eric Warta, WIRTA. I am on Twitter. I believe that's Eric the Horror Guy something. But if you see Eric the Horror Guy, it's probably me. And I'm also on Twitter with similar with similar like name on there. So I will definitely find out those exact names because it's been forever, and because I'd like to add that. Like, if you want to follow us on social media, that's cool too. Because we'll, even if we just post about the podcast, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, that's not the case with me. I post constantly, so
And I don't. So if you follow me, you're gonna be bored.
you'll at least see about the podcast, though. You've been good
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So then this has been the Horror of It All movie podcast. I'm Eric,
I'm Adam.
and I hope you had a good time. Sorry if we rambled on too much, but next episode is Return of the Living Dead. Adam's first time. I'm excited. So until next time, bye.
Bye.